Welcome to the start of a brand new week. Today is officially the 7th day of February. Is it me or is February running with the speed of light? But that's how we like it. My name is Akufo-Addo and I do this with Benjamin Akakpo. Now today in a bit I'll be serving you the news, and right after we have the news review. Political scientist and the Director for Center of European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante, will be joining Benjamin Akakpo for the news review. And then we'll have AM Sports, where Muftan Abdullah will present a segment to you. And then we get into a conversation on the big stories making the headlines. Today, the Public Accounts Committee has been sitting for some days now, interrogating officials found culpable in the Auditor General's report. Now, PAC is worried about many infractions and how some public officials are misappropriating public funds. So today we'll speak to a member of the PAC, Yusuf Sulemana. He's also a member of Parliament for Bole Bamboi. We have all that coming up later on the show. We've also got a conversation with former President John Dramani Mahama's aide. The team is currently on the Building Ghana tour, canvassing for votes ahead of the general elections. Joyce Bewa-Munsgari has been interacting with Nana Yaujima, who's on tour with them. Also, later on in the show, we'll talk about two people who lost their lives after being struck by stray bullets by the police after residents of Kwewu Bepong attacked the Chief's Palace, demanding the release of a suspected murderer. Some residents and some health workers have fled the town following the arrest of some 71 persons believed to have been part of the attack. We've got updates on this as well. And later on, more of the discourse will be on a group of security officers who on Tuesday stormed the studios of Salt FM, a popular radio station in Agogo, to disconnect the equipment and shut the station down. We've got updates on that as well. We've also got AM Business, courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Today, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research is making a strong case for government to address challenges affecting Ghana's cocoa sector. This comes on the back of the 2024 Economist Intelligence Unit Commodities Outlook, which indicates that the price for cocoa will go up. More on this later on in the show. And then you get to have your say. Remember, like I always say, the show is for you and about you. So when we open the phone lines, do well to join us or go to our social media platforms and share your thoughts with us. My name is Akufo-Addo. I do this with Benjamin Akakpo. It's time now for the news. Let's settle for that. You're still watching the AM show. Time now for the news. Let's get into the details. The Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Kwesi Agyeman-Busia, says the authority's new vehicle registration system is eliminating the bureaucratic delays associated with manual registration. The CEO, who was speaking at the inauguration of the new Bono East Regional DVLA complex in Techiman, said this has led to an increase in new registrations, with the DVLA registering more than 10,000 vehicles in the first 3 days of the new year. Anasabit has more.
We've fairly evenly distributed the traffic. Last year, the traffic was flowing in one direction because you all have to troop to maybe block A downstairs for a particular service. This time, we've shared that load, so we've spread the traffic. And then again, we are also utilizing our online platform, to give service to our customers. Why am I saying so? With the manual registration regime those days, yes, you need to.
The magnificent Bono East Regional Office of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority is the first to be constructed amongst the 6 newly created regions. Chief Executive Officer of the DVLA, Kwesi Agyeman-Busia, at the inauguration of the complex, says the move is to, amongst other things, enhance the reach and efficiency of the DVLA across the country.
Today's commissioning is a manifestation of the collective effort of the Minister for Transport, the Chairman and Board of Directors, management and staff of DVLA in our transformation journey, a transformation that through it all we continue to stay true to our fundamental mandate, which is to ensure road safety and road security. Our commitment is to bring our services closer to communities, to underscore our dedication to modernizing the infrastructure while fostering environments that prioritize service excellence.
Mr. Kwesi Ejman-Buzia further noted that the recent implementation of the authority's enhanced vehicle registration systems has added accuracy, speed, and a hassle-free experience for clients, which led to the registration of over 10,000 vehicles in the first 3 days of the new year.
Our journey of transformation also extends to enhancements in systems. The recent implementation of the Enhanced Vehicle Registration System, VRS, saw over 10,000 vehicles registered in the first 3 days of the new year alone. Gone are the days of manual vehicle registration and its associated challenges. Our systems are now more advanced, ensuring accuracy, speed, and a hassle-free experience for our valued clients.
Minister of Transport Kweku Ofori Asiama on his part announced that the new ISO certification of the DVLA gives the activities of the authority more credibility, especially at the global level.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to note that the DVLA is ISO certified, covering driver licenses and associated training services. If you go to the ISO platform, you see ISO 9001-2015, that's the DVLA of Ghana. This certification gives us more credibility to the activities of the authority at the global level.
He, however, urged the general public to embrace the new systems to enable the authority offer efficient services in line with global best practices.
I therefore urge the general public to embrace this new system to enable the DVLA offer efficient services in line with global practices. Initially it will come with some difficulties, but please bear with us.
Acting Regional Manager of the authority, Victor Eko Techisegu, was thankful to the people of the area for their unending support over the years and asked that the new office will be put to good use.
I thank my colleagues who provided sound advice during difficult times and stood by me, and I thank all our traditional leaders, especially Nana Apentinfosu Jiabo, Hans Wahin and Bamuhin of the traditional area, who allocated the land for benefit of all. DVA Techiman will blaze the pageantry as one of the greatest institutions in the country. We further promise to put this edifice in good use.
Anna Sabit, Joy News, Techiman.
Flag bearer of the opposition National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has indicated his government will upscale the concept of ICT on wheels and school farm system. The former president said this when he took time off his Building Ghana tour of the Northern region to visit the Northern College of Science and Technology in Yendi. The college is doing some exploits in farming to feed the students an ICT center powered by solar in a van that moves to remote schools in the area to offer ICT lessons to students. Here's Martina Bugri's report.
The 7th College of Science and Technology, now Northern College of Science and Technology, was established 10 years ago to offer science education to poor students in rural Eastern Corridor of the Northern region. In 10 years of its existence, the school has introduced innovative ways in running its activities. The school has a farm system where they farm and rear animals to feed the students. They also offer ICT to less endowed schools using a van. Speaking at the event, the proprietor of the school, Nathaniel Adams Jr., said the school already has 5 students who are in medical school.
Your Excellency, we are 10 years old and we have over 70 students pursuing science and technology in our universities across the country. We have 5 medical students already. That's just a 10-year-old institution. We have 5 medical students. We have students pursuing doctorate in veterinary and everywhere across the country. That's what we are doing. So it's a holistic education, and we believe that Ghana can look at it and implement it.
Mr. Adams Jr. explained how the ICT on wheels is practiced in the system.
Your Excellency, this is the ICT on wheels. This is the ICT on wheels. It has a seat for 2 teachers, a teacher and assistant, and 2 students. If we have this van, even in a district, schools, our schools are not built at the basic level, having the facility to be able to hold computers. But with this one, many schools, we do 2 to 3 schools in a day when we are out, depending on the distance, in communities in a day, depending on the distance. And this is able to serve many schools. They don't have to, because we have the technology to hold it. I know the major problem is management, but this, under a PPP arrangement, this can be scaled out, and this will serve our schools that don't have computers, that don't have the infrastructure to hold the computers. This can be used.
After touring the farm, Mr. Mahama commended the managers of the school and promised they will upscale this initiative should he win the 2024 general election.
When we were young, our schools had farms, and during agric period, we used to go and provide labor on the farms, and the food that we harvested was used to feed us. So it's something that we have thrown away, and I think we should reintroduce. I just want to congratulate you for what you're doing here. It gives the children an all-round education, not only intellectual, but also livelihoods. In future, some of these children might become commercial, fish farmers, and be able to produce enough fish to feed themselves and the country. And I also like the digital aspect of it. We laid the foundation for digital innovation in this country. When I was deputy minister, that's when we started the process of unraveling the former post and telecommunications. We invited private sector in. We started the fiber cables, the SAT3 cable, and all that. And it was on the basis that we've reached where we are. President Akufo started the Ghana card. We continued with it, rolled out the first cards, and another government has come to continue. And so the foundation for digitalization, including the 700-kilometer fiber cable from the south through the eastern corridor, through Yendi to Kulungungu in the north, was laid by us to allow for high-speed data. And so from here, because of the fiber, you find that your data will be faster because of the fiber that we laid. And so we like what you're doing and want to upscale it so that more secondary schools would adopt the same system and give the children the kind of education they're getting here.
The school also offers skills training like smoke weaving. The students presented clothes to the former First Lady, Lordina Mahama, and her daughter, Farida Mahama.
Please, when you go, give this to our sister, Farida. Okay. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
The Amoafo Paramountcy in the Ashanti region is yet to recover from the impact of the popular Ashanti War, which wiped over 40 communities in the area. These communities became battleground for the clash between the Ashanti Army and the British Army, led by Major General Charles Garnet Wolseley, popularly referred to as the Granty. Now, traditional authorities are reeling the impact of the war as they struggle to rebuild the communities 150 years after the war. Oheming Tewia visited the area and has filed this report.
British soldiers with reinforcement from Sierra Leone, Nigeria and other places crossed the Pra River to fight the Ashanti Army, which had then pitched camp in the south coast to conquer Cape Coast, a British colony in 1873. Cape Coast and Elmina became sites of attraction for the two superpowers because of the booming trading activities. British gunpowder was countered by superior numbers of Ashanti soldiers who returned fire from their hideouts in the forest. Over 40 vibrant but popular Amoafo towns such as Adwinase, Atimponya, Edumase, Munyasie, Beposo, Checheso, Adedase, Fenyakobo and Ntwinuase became targets, whilst Ashanti warriors laid ambush at the banks of Akwamoaso stream. Amoafo Poku II, then chief of Amoafo, organized his warriors and non-warriors to support the Ashanti army led by Bantamahene Amankwetia. This was to resist the British Army incursion of Kumasi, the capital of the Ashanti Kingdom. Unfortunately, this cost the life of Amoafo-hene and the Bantamahene, commander of the Ashanti Army, as hundreds of Ashanti troops paid the heavy price with their lives at the battlefield. Nana Kuafriye III is Amoafo-hema.
Enam sa ekune ba yekrum hahano. Ede susaso bebre ye. Ema ye kru akasia na ewo amafo ha ni nyina boy ebi ni cheche so ebi ni samansia so ebi ni detiem ebi ni adedase ebi ni asomanya ebi ni nsuase ebi ni antowiam ekrono doso azisi adwena se munyina ka ho aye gusua ye chichire sankro no.
Though rebuilding efforts started several years ago, there's little to show for the bravery and loss incurred by the Amoafo people. This giant billboard advertising the construction of the Junase Palace perhaps is a reminder of one of the wiped-off communities. Despite the sacrifices made and the price Amoafo paid, there's little to show in modern-day Amoafo except an uncompleted museum started by the late Asantehene Otumfuo Opokuware II. Nana Akufo-Addo III wants something monumental to be established in the community to usher in an annual Ashanti War festival, which the traditional council has been championing.
Yes, sir, a crooked way. It's me. A tea, a whooshie moo, and ya brofui, a coon to qua, nanyan to cocketway. And wintina. Otumfuo na dauma o meyen ka dum bi mayen se ya brewa sentiment papa ya desje nyina saye ekroyi boye ena no Opokuware epenso enam sa ekuma sentiment oba Amoafo kodua mu obetwa ahomamu mayen se sa nyoma no yebeye ebebo Amoafo man no nyina no enam oko a yako a yenkrofo awuwuo no da biye dia kaiom iti museum o ma yeye ni krom a eda ho wo ho iti yesire rase na daroma eja oniwa ye ni ho onuti ni eti baby na daroma nso yesene.
As Asanteman commemorates the 150 years of a war which saw the destruction of an entire nation, the chiefs and the people of Amoafo have pain.
Bra ekono yati abrofo no nka no kusi banza yema omumesre na Amoafo kura man na amu no ahemfo ne na nanom afiri mu ko ye no asem se nka yanka na se yati abontin kan na ye ni bresem se beto se de kruti Amoafo na abrofo ne sokotofo ho anyina beto ahye so yetu so atweretu ntie na nanom ni brese omo mpanema so ba be fa krum ha pa akode ene enyi ti Amoafo man ne mema nyina sorry.
From Amoafo in the Ashanti region for Joy News, Hypocrisy reporting.
Meanwhile, a historian at the Center of West African Studies at Birmingham University says British engineers expanded roads and built bridges over streams and rivers in the Gold Coast, mainly with the intent of invading the Asante Kingdom. Here's another report by Hypocrisy.
Professor Mark Kasky recounted how the fight for control over trading activities in coastal towns of Cape Coast and Elmina prompted the Ashanti War. Hostage taking and the subsequent imprisonment of Basel missionaries for about 4 years under the watch of the then Asantehene, Kofi Kakari, fueled the war.
Kofi Kakari was a wastrel. He distributed money to buy popularity, and he was eventually destooled at the end of the Ashanti War. The British came to Ashanti in 1874 to make war, 1873 to make war. They also had with them, and perhaps most crucially, Snider rifles. These were the result of revolutionary developments in armaments. And unlike the flintlocks used by the Ashanti or the muskets used by the Ashanti, these were very accurate, long-range repeating rifles.
Several prominent Asante chiefs, including Asante warlord Bantamahene Balfour Amankwetia, Asionyinihene Kwame Mpra, Tuasehene Nana Ampofo, Nana Atafusu, Kwasohene, fell at war in the thick forest of Amoafo near Asante Bekwai. This paved the way for British soldiers to march on to Kumasi, bombarding the town with ammunition as they razed the famous kingdom.
In the occupation of Kumasi, the place was, as previous speakers have said to you, the city was burned and comprehensively looted. The Aban, the big story building constructed by Ashanti War in 1819 to 22, the King's Own Palace, they were all ransacked by the British. Now, I've told you the amount of gold that was floating about Ashanti at this time in dust. We have no account of this. Soldiers just filled their pockets or took it away.
But what is the significance of the Ashanti War in modern-day Ashanti? Eugenia Anderson is a history lecturer at KNUST.
The spirit of patriotism, that is one thing that anybody cannot take from the Asante. When you look at our media spaces today, there are times that issues of Asante come up and people mock them for all kinds of reasons. But you cannot take away patriotism from Asante.
Asantehene Otumfuo Tutu II is commemorating the 150 years of the Ashanti War as part of the 25-year ascendancy of the Golden Stool. It involves the return of looted golden artifacts from Britain and America. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oimenteria reporting.
From the Ashanti region, let's now go to the Western region, where the Sekondi Takoradi Joy News Operation Clean Your Surrounding campaign, which started a month ago with sensitization and cautioning, will start prosecuting and arresting people who flout sanitation laws. The campaign seeks to make the Twin City the cleanest metropolis in the Western region. Correspondent Natalia Kwansa joined the team at Isikado Sub-Metro and has come through with this report.
Today's operation began from the Kojokrom terminal station, which had filled all over. Metro Environmental Health Officer Abdul Karim and his team were disappointed at the station masters. Here, just like the two sub-metros we have visited, Mr. Udu and his team cautioned them. From there, the team visited two cold stores, and just like expected by the team, the insanitary conditions were enormous.
Or a big cold store, or there were the beer or Sanchi, the beer over Jawan, the beer over change. Them dresses, or there one yard, the beer or Bajma, no, I get sister, one who. Then you are there when you are the man. Well, a cold store, number on your papa, and the way I worry on your papa. At Asa Tintan on E in Tintan or Hashe, hanging on Tintan. Then today, my macan, won't you share changing room? My boys, no, not baby, I would the damn boxes he or the yano. One future baby, now one fangu. So bet to a partition waha. Now I am day. Now one cold stone wa. Yabba inside a young one inside. Now
The unannounced visit to inspect the sanitary condition of households and commercial facilities is part of efforts to make the Twin City clean. From there, the task force went to a local eatery. Over there, the place was in a total mess. Flies all over, dirty cooking and serving areas. The gutter which the facility sits was filled with refuse. Coupled with this is an expired medical report used by the operator. The unannounced visit took the task force to a hotel and a place of convenience here at the Isikado Sub Metro. Metro Environmental Health Officer Abdul Karim Hudu, who led the task force, speaks on the nuisance found.
We are going to look for nuisances, that is abrofu nuisances that we are going to look for. When you go to a chop bar, the first chop bar or drinking bar, we are going to look for their medical certificate of health. That's what we are going to look for. The number of people who are there selling the food or selling the drinks. Whether they have it or they have done the screening, we'll look for it. If they don't have, we would either take spot fine of 100 Ghana or 200 Ghana. And then if they don't have, we'll prosecute them. We'll send them to court. That is an example. Number two, we'll look for the storeroom. We'll look if it is a chop bar, where they sold their items, where they change, the workers change. If they don't have them. If they don't have washrooms, that is a urinal or a toilet. If they don't have them, the penalties are there that will charge them. These are few. We have a lot. We will go to a facility like the chop bar that we have described. They don't have a standard refuse container. They have not joined the door-to-door services that we are looking for them to join. So these are some of the things that we are going to look, and all of them have a higher penalty. If you go to court, from 100 penalty unit to 250 penalty unit, and 100 penalty units is around 1,000, 1,300, 1,400. That is what they are going to charge you. But we will first of all push you to pay a swap fine. If you don't have the swap fine, then we are going to court. That's what we are going to do.
The STMA has ended their sensitization and cautioning of residents and commercial facilities. Their next stop will be to prosecute and fine them. For Joy News in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Now, away from the Western region, let's now go to the Ahafo region, where the College of Health in Yamfo has partnered with the National Health Insurance Authority for a construction of a hostel facility with 48 apartments. More than half of the college's population lives in private apartments within the communities, a situation that continues to affect academic work. Director of the college, Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim, says the completion of the project will ease the burden of students. Precious Semevo has more.
The College of Health Yamfo Kohi in the Tano North municipality of the Ahafo region was established in 2015 with 250 students, but now has a total population of about 3,000. Infrastructural deficit remains a challenge with the impact on students and teachers. Half of the students live in rented apartments at exorbitant charges within their communities at the expense of effective teaching and learning. But a sigh of relief is near with a short curtain for the construction of a 3-floor-story building to host over 200 students co-financed by the college and NHIA. Jacob Twene is an engineer at the Ministry of Health.
We have a reliable funding for the project, and the contractor selected for the job is someone we've worked with and we know what he's able to do. This speaks well of the project, and we are hopeful of beating down the 2 years that we've estimated for the project. In our layman language, we say 3 floors. Each of these floors contain 16 apartments with washrooms and all the necessary facilities, around some 19 million Ghana cedis.
The director of Kohi, Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim, underscored the relief the completion of the hostel facility will bring to students.
And the fact that they are scattered in the community and we cannot take care of them is a worry to us. So these are the challenges and the reasons why we think that if we are able to get projects like this, then we can bring all the students to campus and we can take good care of them, protect them, because we are their parents here and they'll be able to learn better compared to their present circumstances where they are in the communities. Apart from even the current number that is already higher than our accommodation, we expect to expand. Recently, we have introduced 3 new programs. It will be admitting students into these programs. All these are coming with numbers. So I want to use this opportunity to appeal to all those who matter, who will be able to help us, support us in any way.
General Manager of JKY Company Limited, Eric Newton, assured of timely completion with the support of stakeholders.
We have decided to finish within 1 year. That is our target, and we are very, very much sure we'll be able to meet this target. And the director is very cooperative. The land is also very good. So I don't think we are going to face challenges. And so our resources are ready, and very soon we mobilize and come to site and start the project.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Yamfo.
That ends it for the AM News on the AM Show. But first in a series of conversations we're bringing to you this morning is the news review with Benjamin Akakpo. He's joined by political scientist and director of Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante. Please stay for that.
Well, thank you very much for staying. Welcome to this Wunderbar Wednesday. It's midweek, and of course, we are doing what we do best on the AM show, here to serve you. Anyway, before we get into it, let me just let you know, as always, that Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is helping us bring you this segment. And what are they offering you? If you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening of whatever shape for free. Here's where you can locate them. They are Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Then there's Kumasi, Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takra Dianaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And a good way to kickstart with Sweetie Abochi, my co-host. But now I'm pleased to bring you political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante. Doc, good morning. Mmawachi.
Yaura. Good morning, my brother. How are you?
By God's grace, we're well. I hope you're well too.
I'm very well.
All right. As always, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to talk about any topical matters that are of concern to you. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Over to you, Doc. I mean, there are so many issues, but I notice that usually when I try to bring in the issues, you have something already on your mind. So you go ahead.
Oh, yes.
I'm throwing it to you.
Oh, yes. Today, I want to look at this issue of Ghana Cocoa Board allowing companies to import what they call, less premium cocoa beans to come and support what they get from the country to produce chocolate and other commodities for us. I must say that I was highly disappointed when I read the press release, particularly so when they talk about the fact that, hey, that propaganda is not the best for the country and the rest of them, and that the practice has been with us for the past 20 years. Come on. This is a country that every dollar counts. This is a country that we need all resources in terms of foreign currency to be able to do other business. And you are allowing companies to import from our neighboring countries, such as Togo, such as Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, all right, what you call less premium cocoa. It has not occurred to any of those who manage these things on our behalf to encourage our farmers to produce the non-premium cocoa. Come on, they must be ashamed of themselves. Because, look, we are importing this, what they call the non-premium. Yet we have arable lands that can help us to produce these things so that we will not import. That has not occupied their attention. That all that they are interested in that, oh yeah, let them import. If we don't stop this, a time will come, you and I will import gakenke. We will be importing and telling the world that, oh, the gakenke is the premium and that we want a certain less quality one to come and augment what we have here. It's a very shameful act, and I take it with a pinch of salt, and that they should come again. They should be putting, measures in place so that what people, the other companies are importing to come and support what we have here, we are able to produce. So that our money will not go anywhere. I think that should be the focus. But what they are telling us, and they think that is the best press release, I throw it into the lake of fire. It is nothing to write home about. I am so disappointed that in Promise Ghana, it doesn't matter the type of cocoa we are importing. We are importing a certain type of cocoa beans into this country. And we are proud that the practice has been with us for the past 20 years. Come on, leaders of this organization, please ensure that we have value for money. That is my message this morning.
All right, so interesting, but of course, you've seen and it appears you've read part of what COCOBOD said in reply, that this has been a long-standing practice, and that what they say is that you cannot produce premium cocoa and sell premium cocoa altogether. You must blend it with other less premium cocoa. So sometimes you would notice that, I remember in Cuba, I was so excited when I saw chocolate at a certain part of that country, which said that it had some percentage of Ghanaian cocoa or cocoa made from Ghana. So usually they would blend. It wouldn't be like all premium Ghanaian cocoa. That's the explanation they give. So they are getting some from Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and blending it with our own premium product. What do you say to that? I know you've addressed it in a way, but have you averted your mind to that aspect, that angle as well? Hello, Doc? All right. We seem to have a connection issue with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. We'll get it rectified and then take it from there. Of course, many of you have shared your concerns on that particular issue as well, saying that, I mean, I remember, for example, some minority members in Parliament, if memory serves, Roxanne Nelson, Dafia Makbo, among others, saying that now we have to import cocoa and all of that in respect of bringing it in. I know that sometimes it's the whole thing, premium Ghanaian cocoa, but I also know that sometimes these blends happen. I'm not an expert in that, but like I said, I've seen in instances where maybe they'll tell you part of this chocolate is the composition, 30% premium cocoa from Ghana or something of the sort, or 70%. So that's what I wanted Doc to respond to. But we'll try to get him back and then see what he has to share on those matters. The major papers I'll be getting into today, the Daily Graphic newspaper, the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, and the New Finder newspaper. Let me get to the headlines in here, and then we shall have a bit of a discourse on those. In the interim, if you've listened to what Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante said, just send me your thoughts via the live stream on Facebook. That is Joy News on Facebook. Just get on there. It's very easy. Just go to Facebook, key in Joy News. You'll find our major platform there. And then you can get onto the live feed as we're having it now. You can stream and then let me know what you think. Not just about that, but about some of the other issues of national concern. Some of the issues we'll be discussing here. Do we have Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante back? All right. So the first story, rent scheme, and I'm starting with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Rent scheme benefits 1,492 tenants. 19 million Ghana cedis disbursed to 6 regions. That's according to the Housing Minister, Francis Asenso Boakye. There's also government Chinese Forge infrastructure delivery partnership. And then PAC orders Ministry of Food and Agriculture to pay bird flu affected farmers. And university unions strike over unresolved grievances. This a matter that I know Doc would likely want to respond to. Doc, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, before I go over the headlines, I put a question to you. I don't know whether you got the question.
No, it started and then the line tripped. So if you can, bring it back.
So in simple terms, I was also saying that I'm sure you've been to some parts of the world and seen chocolate where you would see written on it maybe 30%, 50%, 60%, 70% premium cocoa from Ghana. What it means is they've used that chunk of cocoa from Ghana and the rest of it is other stuff. And I'm saying that while I agree with you, I mean, if we're doing premium, we can do premium, but there are also times when there are blends. So you don't use, according to the cocoa board, you don't use all premium cocoa. You mix it up a bit. Consider it this way. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and reason from their end. Gold. Usually, you wouldn't have gold in 24 carats, right? That is the purest form. And usually, those ones are used for ornamental value. So you are something that will not be worn or used because gold is very soft. It's a soft metal. So you would want to mix it with maybe copper, where it would look more red, or maybe silver, where it would look a bit more white, okay? So 18 carats, I think, is about 75% gold. So I'm just thinking along those lines. You don't usually find people using 24 karat gold. What do you say in that regard?
I follow all that conversation. I do.
Right.
But I am saying that we are importing, allowing companies to import from places such as Côte d'Ivoire, such as Togo, Nigeria, Ecuador. Look at the sub-region, Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria. What is it that they have in their land which we don't have, that we cannot produce that commodity that they need to add to what? The premium. That is all my beef. All right. And we continue to rely on the fact that it has been an industry practice and all that. What is it that these countries have in their land that enable them to produce that additional, commodity that supports the premium to do what they are doing? That is all. And if we say that we want to rely on that forever, then I disagree. I disagree vehemently that we can also produce it here so that we save ourselves a lot of foreign exchange and all that. That is all my argument there is.
All right. Fair point to make. Now let's get into the papers, Doc. Daily Graphic. Rent scheme benefits 1,492 tenants. University unions strike over unresolved grievances. Government Chinese forge infrastructure delivery partnership. And we keep signing these, and you wonder what really we're looking for and what we're getting out of all of these. University unions strike over unresolved grievances. I've mentioned that. PAC, the Public Accounts Committee, orders Ministry of Food and Agriculture to pay bird flu affected farmers. And when you look at some of the things that have come up as far as the Public Accounts Committee is concerned, it would make you retch, make you puke, make you vomit. And all of this is going on. And I've had some conversations with members of parliament and said, maybe we should look at it, this retrospective action, where after the fact, the thing is done. And now you're trying to recoup money and trying to take people to court even after that. And sometimes the Auditor General's department itself, or the Auditor General's, is not exactly helpful because they are talking of retrospective, this, when contracts are ballooned beyond a certain 60% and all of that. It makes nonsense of the drive to root out corruption, my take, and speaking to the people at the very height of some of these things. On the back page, today's AFCON semi-final, South Africa eye revenge against Nigeria. And elephants to continue roller coaster ride. So the elephants of Côte d'Ivoire will lock horns with the Democratic Republic of Congo. And of course, South Africa will play Nigeria. Do you have any permutations for these matches? I know you love your football. Let's start from that softer note and get to the hardest stuff.
I love football, but I've told you in recent times, because of what you and I are going through in terms of Black South Africa, I have decided to stay a little away from the team.
I see. You've decided to become a spectator, not a citizen.
With the team, but I don't want to die early of shock. So, when Black Stars are playing, I do something else, and when the glory comes, I come out and also jubilate. But back to the issue, if you look at the teams that are going for the semi-final, I think this is the real decider. Nigeria and South Africa. That's going to be a cracker. I mean, I don't know the strength of both teams now, but I know them to be football nations, and that if they all have what it takes to be at this stage, then we should expect nothing but the best. If you go to the other, I've forgotten about the other parents. Yes.
So there's Nigeria versus South Africa, and then there's DR Congo versus Côte d'Ivoire.
Congo has been, over the years, been a very solid team, and the same can be said about Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire, you recall, The record between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire has dominated for a very long time. I don't know the strength of their team now, but if it is what I used to know, then it can be another interesting encounter. I believe that the two matches are going to give Africa a lot of attention in terms of the quality that we are going to display. That is, if the standards are the best that we can see. But look, if you look at all these things, once my team is out, I always root for Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. They are my team that, apart from Black Star, yes, I wish them the best.
Well, we wish all of them the best. And once you're out, you don't have to have sour grapes. The others can go ahead and may the best team win. So let's get into some other stories. And the National Rental Assistance Scheme, set up to address the age-old challenge of rent advance payments, has disbursed 19 million Ghana cedis to support individuals to pay for rent advance in 6 regions. The scheme, since March last year, has supported 1,492 beneficiaries as of January the 31st this year. On the average, the scheme supports over 200 beneficiaries a month, with an average monthly rent of 500 Ghana cedis per beneficiary, renting for 2 years. The Minister of Works and Housing, Francis Asenso-Boakye, who disclosed this to the Daily Graphic, said the rent assistance scheme was set to go nationwide after its successful implementation in 6 regions over the past year. Now, 4 beneficiaries who spoke of the scheme and who spoke to the Daily Graphic separately said it had been the best accommodation renting experience of their lives. My only question, who are getting these sums of money? Why? Is it taking a political tincture? You know, this country, nothing is transparent.
Yeah.
I would like to see the list of those who have got them and find out how many are not affiliated to a certain party and how many are not family and friends and how many are not this and that. You know where I'm going. But yeah. Anyway, it's helping Ghanaians. So, well, what can you say? Doc, let me just come in with these 2 stories and then you can come in with your responses. I'll go to page 13 now. There you are. So 2 stories. The Public Accounts Committee of Parliament has given the Ministry of Food and Agriculture a 1-month ultimatum to compensate farmers whose farms were destroyed by the pathogenic avian influenza disease in Kumasi. The ministry defaulted in paying compensation to the affected farmers after the Ministry of Finance had released 1.9 million Ghana cedis for that purpose in 2015, 2018, and 2021, respectively. The 2022 Auditor General's report further revealed that only 191,730 Ghana cedis was paid to 10 farmers, leaving 1.8 million Ghana cedis unaccounted for. 1.8 million Ghana cedis. Hopefully, Brian Achampong can give us some answers. And then this one that I know you'll definitely want to respond to. University unions strike over unresolved grievances in quotation marks. So multiple industrial actions have rocked public university campuses as different working groups strike over unresolved welfare issues, including pension contributions, vehicle maintenance allowances, and overtime payments. The striking groups are the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana, the Federation of Universities Senior Staff Association of Ghana, the Teachers and Educational Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress, and the Ghana Association of University Administrators. And just to add to that, the National Labour Commission has, however, criticized the ongoing strikes, deeming them, quote, unmeritorious and potentially unlawful. Your reactions, Doc?
Yeah. I will begin by looking at the rent scheme. I must commend the government because it was part of their manifesto that when voted to office, they will do this. However small that they started, I am with them and I support that. It's a good cause and it's also a good gesture. I am also, supporting your position that if they really want this thing to serve the purpose for which it has been established, it is incumbent upon them to publish the list of those who have benefited from this, so that we know that it's not going to party food soldiers, party boys, and party apparatchiks, and that every well-meaning Ghanaian who is qualified will get it. Once they do that, then transparency is assured, then accountability will follow from there. And the confidence that Ghanaians have in this system will always be maintained. We think that, yes, they've done a good thing, but they should move it to another level, higher. And that is what, by publishing names of what all the beneficiaries of this scheme, which we think is a laudable one. And I want them to also gradually expand it so that a lot of people can be captured under this. Then I'll look at also the issue of unresolved grievances in the university, particularly among the unions. It is always hard when you have government always reneging on its promise. Then you come back to square one. It's not a good thing. It erodes confidence that people have in government. So I will urge government that they should listen to the unions and then do the needful so that they all come back to work. If you look at campus now, it's littered with filth and all that. It's not a good thing. And I'm sure that the workers themselves are ready to work. I will also urge the workers to also, pay attention to all the calls and then be able to speak in such a way that at the end of the day, there will be amicable solution to the problems so that they will all come back to support the call of building the human infrastructure for this country and all that. Yes, we want them to be able to fight and then fight for a good cause. But at the same time, we want them to also listen to direction of management relative to some of the things that they do so that at the end of the day, all the stakeholders within the university community will benefit from whatever action that one group takes and all that. That is always on my mind. And I expect them to be so as to not to jeopardize the academic system and also not to jeopardize the whole work that we are all doing to support Mother Ghana. Any grievance on their mind, let them master the courage to sit at table and talk about. There is nothing that can never be discussed and all that. Sir Francis Bacon has always given us an opportunity to be able to benefit or to leverage on what? Dialogue. The dialogue makes what? A better person. So they should be able to dialogue, air their grievances, and also must be prepared to give and take so as to what? Allow this country to move on. We need all groups on campus to be able to work and work well. I also look at PAC.
Before you move on, I'm interested. The planned demonstration, will you partake in it?
Which one is that, please?
Well, there's the one on February 13, and, the teaching unions as well have expressed interest in joining those. Are you likely to join it? It's, on the back of the 15% VAT and then the whole bit about pensions and not sending them, some have expressed interest that they would join this demonstration. Are you going to be joining them?
I have not looked at the issues here relative to the demonstration and all that, but we are saying that all that we are talking is that yes, when somebody has worked and what is due him, you give the person. If you are promised, you are an employer, you are promised something, deliver. And also, when you are also an employee, you know what is also expected of you to do. When these things are met, I believe that we will have a sanitized system. So whether I will be in the demonstration or out of it, the real issue is that whatever they are putting forward, is it worth, understanding, and is it worth the while, so that our comments will go a long way to support or undermine it. So for me, where I will be is not the real issue. Yes, the issue is that let us all, the key players, do what is expected, so that at the end of the day, we will benefit from whatever enterprise we embark upon.
Right. Let me reframe the question just briefly. Do you think, on the back of all these happenings, it is justified to hit the streets to demonstrate on the back of this, whether or not you are participating?
Oh, the right to demonstrate is anchored in the Constitution and is given to every human being who will use the processes, the procedures as required by law. Once you satisfy that, you have the right to jump onto the street forever. I mean, nobody will worry you, provided you don't go against the rules of the game. That's fine. So whoever wants to exercise his right, I am not against it at all. The Constitution allows that. And what the Constitution allows, who am I to say I am against it? No.
All right, let's get into some other stories. Senegal on the brink after elections postponed. You know the Senegalese story. Now,
yes.
Senegal's reputation as a bastion of democracy in an unstable region is on the line after protesters clashed with riot police outside Parliament last Monday. And I've been talking about this issue for days. I keep saying our leaders will remain mum, as though they couldn't speak. I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody. But once there's a fire in there, and maybe there's a military incursion, then you see them talking. What kind of hypocrisy is this in the sub-region? Including from our own president, the Nigerian president, who is now, I believe, chair of ECOWAS, and all the others. You keep quiet. What Macky Sall is doing is out of order. No one is calling him out. But should there be, God forbid, a military incursion? And Senegal is one, like the story says, one of the bastions of democracy. I've forgotten, but there are some areas where they are the foremost in democracy in the sub-region. And this is what is happening there. We're quiet. If there's a fire and escalation, then you see them and the military shouldn't this and the military shouldn't that. I think that is hogwash, but I don't know what you make of that situation.
Yes, I think that I also have similar sentiments, that our leaders sit down as if they have no responsibility and allow people to misbehave within the democratic space, right? If you go to the ECOWAS protocol on democracy and governance, all right, it is clear that 6 months to election, you don't do any major changes, all right? This, that you are suspending election, is a major change, and that is not good enough. We don't want to know, we don't want to hear about it. What are you doing? And some opposition members have been, suspended, prevented from contesting and all that. You are setting the stage for chaos. And where are everyone's leaders? Are they on sabbatical leave? Are they alive? Do they see what is going on? The hypocrisy on the part of ECOWAS leaders has always brought us trouble. The inability, the inaction on their part has always also created a problem for us. And also lack of vision is also what the part of the problems that faces what ECOWAS today. And that is why we are seeing all the troubles that we are. It is unfortunate that people fought and brought this organization to life. And today, due to poor management, poor leadership, and bad decisions and all that, we are now having people who are threatening the bloc to leave and the rest of them. It's unfortunate because what Macky Sall is doing here is unfair. It's nothing that we want to accept in a democracy when, there are clear rules that govern what the conduct of every electoral process. And people have, prepared their minds that they are going to elect and going to the polls and elect their leaders. And in no time, you want to scuttle this dream. Please, ECOWAS leaders, if you want to gain our respect, you want to gain our confidence, please act and act now. Because the military incursions, the military adventurism are one too many that we don't want a repeat of that. No, we don't want that. So let us fight for democracy through thick and thin, so that all these ugly practices which degenerate the democratic agenda, we will be able to keep them away and maintain democracy. I know democracy doesn't have all all the positive dividends, but I can tell you without fear of contradiction that it is the best system of government, nothing more, nothing less. All that we need to do is to work within the framework and make sure that we bring everybody on board by expanding on the frontiers of advocacy. That's right. The spirit and letter of democracy. So Macky Sall and Co, please, let's save this continent. We are getting one too many of such irresponsible statements. I am not happy.
All right. And other African parliaments are showing that they also know how to fight, just as ours did. Bipartisan border deal on brink of defeat. That's in respect of Washington's involvement, Ukraine among others, Israel also. And then Turkey mourns last year's earthquake victims. And of course, we know how we lost our very own Christian Achu. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, Upper East Regional Minister fumes over shoddy work, snail pace of execution of projects. And then this one, tragedy, 7 die, 4 injured in gory accident. Fuel tanker runs over minibus on Accra and Sawam Road. It piled into them. I hear there were about 15 people in there. And the rhetoric is that practically all of them have lost their lives. This one will interest you. Forgive them. They don't know the power of love. Court tells Professor Phoebe. You know him, Dominic Phoebe. He's been minister in this country before under the Akufo regime. I think he's 85, and the woman he's marrying is, the latest he's marrying is 35 or so. The age gap is about 50. And his own son, and I think nephew, were contesting it, but the court has ruled that they do not have sufficient grounds. And that is the major story there. Any quick reactions, and then we can go. Maybe I'll just add this. Swollen shoot disease destroys 500,000 hectares of cocoa farms. You were talking about cocoa, so I just brought that in. That's in the New Finder newspaper. Anything to react to before we go?
Yes, I will talk about Professor Fuji's enterprise. All right. There's nothing wrong with he selecting the love of his life or himself. He wants to have somebody to stay with. What is wrong with that? And I'm happy with the decision of the court that, hey, children, stay away. Let your father go ahead. He knows what is good for himself and all that. Yes, children may have their own concerns, and then they went to appropriate forum. That's the court. The court has ruled. The old man can go on, provided he has what it takes to maintain that relationship, and it will not also undermine the fortunes of the family. Once that's the case, I think we'll leave them. We treat the matter as a private matter. Let them deal with it at home. All right. But I will also look at the swollen shoot disease. I will urge all the stakeholders, Cocoa Board, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and all the stakeholders in this industry to work very hard to deal with this problem. Because once a while we experience this. But I must also say that the ministry has over the years been able to deal with a lot of problems that face the industry in terms of pest attacks and all that. They've done a lot, and that I commend them for that. You will see where they supply all manner of chemicals. You recall President Kufuor's time, cocoa spraying projects and the rest of them. This government and then other governments have followed through and all that. So this one, I'm not sure it should be a problem for them. They should be able to nip it in the bud and then make sure that the cocoa industry is alive and kicking. I have always said that one day I listened to President Kufuor, who visited Creek, and the kind of things that I saw with my naked eyes that have been done by that institute using cocoa beans. Why are we where we are? That we cannot add value and then expand the frontiers of that research and make everybody happy. Giving cocoa to even students and encouraging them to patronize that. We are creating that, culture where they will be proud of their own commodity and then they will be able to use it. And we extend it to other commodities. I attended a program in the U.S. and then a day came that they said, showcase what you have in your country. I wore my smock and then I served Ghana chocolate to everybody. And I was with a toast of many in there. This is the spirit that I wanted to hoover around that industry, cocoa, where my parents fought, worked in, and other parents. And today, I want to be proud of that industry. So if anything comes about and it's wrong, we will not hesitate at all. And then we will talk about it because this is an industry that my parents worked and died in. This is a industry that other parents have also contributed to their life in there. And we will continue to defend that industry till the last breath of our life.
Thank you, Doc. And some of us always have stories to share. My grandfather was a cocoa farmer. At a point, I benefited from a cocoa scholarship, and I'm proud. Yeah, my grandfather did that, and at least I could benefit. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asante, for joining this conversation. Doc is a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Before we go, this message coming through, it says, "Good morning, Ben. My dearest grandpa is 90 years today. A happy new year and blessed 90th birthday to retired Colonel Lawyer Samuel Kwabena Asante, a.k.a. Mapa, of Tishinungwa Estates, Cocoa Street." Interestingly, we're talking about Cocoa Street. From your wife, children, grandchildren, siblings, nieces, and nephews, we love you. Thank you very much, Grandpa. Okay, so Happy New Year and blessed 90th birthday. It's not a joke, 90 years to retired Colonel Lawyer Samuel Kwabena Asante, a.k.a. Mapa. I hear you are seated by your TV waiting for this, so a very happy birthday to you. And may God grant you many more decades to come. Yeah. Right before we go into sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment. And they're offering prostate screening for free, fertility screening for free if you're a woman, and prostate for men. Just reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakradi Anaji State Tema Committee 22, Techiman Hanswa and Siaman Zama. Their call lines remain 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. And that's how we cap it off, and we'll be back with sports up next.
And everyone, welcome to AM Sports. Here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. In the next couple of days, about 5,000 athletes will assemble in Ghana to participate in 29 different sporting disciplines in the African Games 2023. One of those disciplines is football. The Accra Sports Stadium, Cape Coast Sports Stadium, and the Bawayara Sports Stadium. These are the facilities earmarked to host the football competitions. My colleague, Victor Achus Tamaklo, visited the Accra Sports Stadium to give us an idea of how the facility looks like ahead of the commencement of the first game on March 9.
For the first time in the history of the African Games, tournament organizers will break tradition when they allow 3 different cities to host what is typically hosted by one. When they allow Accra, Cape Coast and Kumasi to host the football competition from the 8th of March. When the games begin on the 8th of March, the playing surface here at the Accra Sports Stadium will host some of the games. It will be the first time that the facility will be open up to host any sport events since the National Sports Authority closed it down in December of last year. Since then, the facility has hosted 2 events. The Jesus Christ Encounter Crusade on the 2nd of December, and 20 days later, the Beam Concert. So we can presume that the National Sports Authority has made some money to put the facility in a state befitting of the events they are preparing for, right? Not quite. But don't take my word for it. Come with me as we check out the Accra Sports Stadium. We'll look at the playing surface, the washrooms, and where you, the fans, will be sitting when the games begin on the 8th of March, and see the current state of the facility.
This is the playing surface. During the musical concert in December, it was exposed to heavy equipment, motorbikes, and worse. Now, though, it looks green. Just not the right kind of green. A closer look at the pitch will show that it's not all grass. There are weeds and mushrooms also competing for moisture, sunlight, and nutrients in the soil. A CAF official who recently inspected the pitch has told Joy Sports that there are 6 species of grass growing on its surface. Of that number, only 1 is natural grass fit for purpose, and it is less than 30% of the grass on the playing surface at the Accra Sports Stadium. The average time it takes to regrass a pitch is 6 months. The last time the pitch was regrassed was in 2017 ahead of the Women's African Cup of Nations in 2018. With just over a month to the games, regrassing is not an option. The National Sports Authority could, however, opt for what experts call top dressing. That could take between 6 and 8 weeks. So top dressing, just like regrassing, is not an option. When the games begin, you may see a green pitch, or more accurately, a pitch of green weeds neatly mowed. So the pitch does not and is not likely to be in a good condition when the games begin on March 8th. But what about the washrooms that the fans would use if they need to? When you enter the washrooms, you are greeted by a pungent choking smell. A smell that says, "I'm sorry, lady or gentleman, but this is not the place for you." If you insist on using the facility, everything that you see will confirm everything that smell said to you. From the toilets to the urinals, none of these have been cleaned for months. For regular users of the Accra Sports Stadium, it is exactly what they expect, and that is why many come to the Accra Sports Stadium not planning to use the washrooms. If I didn't know better, I would assume that the National Sports Authority does not care about the state of this facility or the patrons of the Accra Sports Stadium, but they say they do. They say they mean well. But when you walk into this facility to use it, what you see here, what you experience in the washrooms will give you an impression that this is a poorly managed facility. The National Sports Authority often rents out the facility for top dollar. So where exactly do these monies go to? What are these monies used for? Going around the facility, there is little evidence of the reinvestment from the revenues accrued from renting out the facility into fixing the pertinent issues at the Accra Sports Stadium. We have taken you to the washrooms. You have seen how unkempt they look. Clearly not being managed. Take a look at these broken plastic seats next to me, a bit further away from me, and those to my right-hand side. The NSA closed down the Accra Sports Stadium to make money they ostensibly would reinvest into replacing these broken seats, cleaning the washrooms, possibly regrassing the pitch and fixing and leaving the Accra Sports Stadium in a much better state. But 2 months since the facility was closed down, there is no evidence of any reinvestment into the facility. In February, the Ghana Premier League will resume. Probably before that, we're going to have the National Division 1 League and the various clubs in the Greater Accra region who use this facility getting into action. When they start using the facility, when football fans resume attending matches, they are not going to find this facility in any better state than it was when they were last here.
Colleague Victor Achu Tamaklo with that report there. Now let's talk national team football. That is the Black Stars, and the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Subana Babin, has called on the Ghana Football Association to stop the sacking of coaches because that alone is not enough to salvaging the poor performance of the senior national team in continental and global competitions. According to him, it's about time the GFA builds some consistency when it comes to the technical direction of the senior national team.
The Black Stars and their handlers must know that they represent more than just a football team. They are a symbol of our national pride, cohesion, and resilience. They must therefore endeavor to rise from the ashes of these setbacks and demonstrate to the world the true power of Ghana's football. It is high time we huddle together to discuss the current state of Ghana's football and consider a comprehensive strategy for the future. Sacking of coaches is not the panacea to the challenges. We must evaluate our football infrastructure, youth development programs, coaching standards, and administrative structures to identify areas for improvement. Our national teams should represent the breadth and diversity of Ghana's football talent. Ghanaians must invest in a holistic and sustainable development of sports and culture. Parliament will appreciate an opportunity to work with other stakeholders towards this common goal.
Now, let's talk a demonstration that some group of sports journalists have come together. They say they will be demonstrating against the Ghana Football Association. And a former chairman of the GFA, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, he has said that he will be there to support them in their quest to have the Ghana Football Association do the right things. According to him, the GFA should understand that they are in the office to govern football in the interest of the people and not for their parochial interests.
Concerning your protest march, I support it fully. And I would say it's even long overdue. Leaders of this country should know that the source of their power comes from the people. And the people's game is football. It is their passion. So when that particular game is failing, then government must know that it's failing.
Now, let's talk the African Cup of Nations semi-final. The fixtures are happening tonight. It is South Africa versus Nigeria first, and the second game will have the host nation, Côte d'Ivoire. They will be coming up against DR Congo. Let's hear from the head coach of South Africa, Hugo Bruce. He's been speaking about that game. He believes that this is a game they have the potential of winning to make it to the final of the competition.
Confident in the players, even when in South Africa there were a lot of question marks about it. I think it's very important that you can go on working for a long time with the same players, so you can install something in the team. And when the players have the confidence and the results are following, you are growing like a team. And I think we did that in AFCON also. We had the first game against Mali. We didn't play bad, not at all, but we lost the game. So the second game was Namibia, and that was a good thing for us. It gave us a boost for all the players to believe that, yeah, it can happen. After that, okay, you won against Morocco, and so every time you got more and more confident. So now we believe that we can reach a final. So, and again, I believe since a long time in those players, because they have qualities, we needed such that kind of tournaments where we have to play a higher level, where we have to do things that normally South African players don't do in the national competition. And we succeeded. So that means that, that is the reason, I think, why we are now in semi-final. I hope that I can say that I can be proud of myself when with two different teams you are now in semi-final and you won already an AFCON. This is something special for me, certainly. At the other side, once you are in that phase of the tournament, you hope to win it also. And when I should succeed that should be a fantastic thing for my CV. But again, it's not only the coach, it's also the team. You need a team. You can't do it with a bad team. So let's see what the semi-final gives us tomorrow, and let's hope that we can go to the final on Sunday.
Yeah, we're just proud as a team to be in the semi-finals in the last four. We've worked so hard over the last few years. We've come a long way, as a country, as a team, as a squad. So I'm just proud to be, at this stage. Not so many people, believed in us, but we believed in ourselves and in what we've done the last few years. And we've shown, that it's possible. So we're looking forward to the game. We're excited. Obviously, we've done our analysis. We're looking forward to the game. It's going to be a big one. Obviously, there's a big rivalry between the two countries, and they are obviously the team that knocked us out the last time we were at AFCON, in 2019. So there's a lot at stake. There's a lot to play for, and we're ready and we're looking forward to the game.
Now let's hear from the head coach of Nigeria, Jose Pozero. He's always speaking about that game. He believes that the Super Eagles have got the quality to make it to the final.
My team and me don't put the focus is our team is favorite. It's have advantage or not. Our focus, everybody go tomorrow in the pitch and do your best. You know about organization. Each one know the task, individual and collective tasks. Is a key point. Never one team go for a pitch, you think, I am favorite, I am advantage about the opponent. No, it's for you. You can create news about that. For us, is what you must do in set piece, what you must do in the offensive organization, what you must do in defensive organization, what you must do on the offensive transition, what you must do in the defensive transition, what you must do in the cohesion of the team, in the spirit of the team, what you must do in the pitch for win the next match. Only that. If my players think like the media was bad for us, very bad, but I don't believe. They know, go to play against good team, put Morocco's one favorite out, 2-0, 1-0, 2-0. You know the responsibility, you know the realization of the opponent, you know the power of the opponent. We know they want to play, they want to win like us. They are confident, they have good organization, they want to win AFCON like us. But more important is our team. You want to play like normal, you do. You want to enjoy the game also. At the same time, demand and joy, commitment and joy, sacrifice and joy, organization and joy. For play a good match, for create opportunity, and avoid the opponent, create opportunity. Only that. Favorite, advantage? No. Don't enter our head. If enter our head, you fly. You understand? That's the first answer. More strong than win three times and fly. No, you don't fly. You go play in our feet in the ground tomorrow. Sure.
I think, like the coach said, I think we do believe, that we can go all the way. But like we said throughout the tournament, we take game by game, and this is the focus now. This is the focus is on playing against South Africa in the semi-final. So that's what we're focusing on, and hopefully we can get the job done.
Nigeria versus South Africa, the big semi-final happening later today in the African Cup of Nations. There was a letter from the South African embassy, from Nigerian embassy in South Africa rather, that warned Nigerians not to celebrate loud if Nigeria should beat South Africa. They also told them certain areas they should not go and watch the game. So if you're a Nigerian and you are in South Africa, just make sure that you adhere to the directive from your embassy. And let's wrap up with the highlights of the DFB Pokal Cup match that happened between Stuttgart and Leverkusen. Leverkusen won that game to progress to the semi-final of the competition. This shall wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
Welcome aboard the AM show once more. We're here at job 600, yes, doing that job for God and country, bringing you bits and pieces that you need to know about on the political terrain, on the current affairs terrain. But today finds us here in the office of the Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboi in the person of Yusuf Sulemana. We've been here before. We're back, especially as we get ready to kickstart another parliamentary session, another year. But without much ado, let me welcome aboard Sulemana Yusuf Suleiman.
Yes, Ben. How are
the
you?
Conversation. I'm okay.
Great.
I'm okay.
Happy New Year.
Same to you. It's the first time we're meeting this year. How have you been? How's your constituency?
My constituency, we thank God. Everything is going on well. I mean, I was there somewhere 23rd
of December.
I mean, we rose 22nd. And in fact, it was even 23rd that we rose because we were here until dawn. And so by 12 o'clock, I was on the flight to Tamale and then to Bole. And I've been there, I mean, I was there for over 3 weeks. Came back, spent 4 days here and went back. And I just returned not quite long. So the constituency is solid. I've been able to touch base with most of the people that I was supposed to visit. I have quite a number of airways in the constituency. Very difficult to reach out to them, especially during the rainy season. But I've been able to reach out to them during this dry season. We have some from a community called Malu, where you travel deep into the bush, and then you meet them by the riverside, by the Bui Dam side, at a place called Bole. Had very nice interactions with them. Then I moved to Tenga. Same thing, you have to travel down there and to meet the airways around that area. Very lovely people. And then I proceeded to Bandang Konta, traveled to another community where I met with them. And then I ended it at Jama, where we have some airways at the market. And we had some problem there.
This was an ever visit, eh?
Yes, so the first phase was an ever visit, you know, and it went on very well. I shared a little that I could share with them in terms of rice, sugar, because it was Christmas and New Year period. And I also realized they didn't have electricity, and so I went with some solar lanterns.
There's no electricity in that
community? Those areas, yes. So they are new settlements. So I also went and gave them some solar lanterns, and I think they were happy with me. We had a very good conversation, and we are picking it from there. As new settlements, they will need schools. They will need polyclinics.
I don't mean to interrupt, but how long ago were these settlements created?
Yeah, so some 2-3 years ago.
2-3 years.
Yes, and especially in 2019, most of them started in 2019. And I've been in touch with them since then. And they're doing well. They are settling down and they are creating communities. And so we think that we should be able to integrate them into our system. I mean, the traditional system, the administrative system, we should be able to integrate them into our system. Then we move on.
If I asked you about the quality of life of the people of Bole Bamboi on the back of your leadership, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you say maybe when you took off it was and what it is now?
Ben, this is a difficult question you've asked me. I alone cannot impact on the lives of the people, so I'm able to even give a percentage or give a grade as to how their lives are today. Starting from when I took over. Don't forget, this is a different administration, and I can tell you on record that, look, there are so many things that ordinarily every government should have been interested in doing for the people of Bole Bamboi, but for some reason this administration has turned deaf ears to our plea. They have closed their eyes on our concerns. And so, and some of the infrastructure activities that if we're able to get them done would have impacted on their lives. So I cannot sit here and say that their lives are better, and it's not my fault. It is because government has not lived up to its expectations. There are communities where we are taking electricity to those communities. A place like Bogoda, a place like Bekwekura, a place like Noiri and what have you. We took the light there. What was left was just the transformers. 6-7 years down the line, they haven't had these transformers.
The transformers have never come?
No, they haven't given them these transformers. I have followed up with questions on the floor. I've gone to the Ministry of Energy several times. Take the places like Chibrinua. I went to the place and encouraged the chiefs to even go to the minister. They did all that. but they were not given these transformers. And so you know what happens when you have electricity in the community. Economic activities will boom up, and that will translate into the lives of the people. And so clearly they are waiting for Mama to come and save them.
Beyond what governments will do, and when I posed that question, I was looking purely at what, maybe not even what is expected of a member of parliament, but because parliamentarians have taken on those duties. I was looking at it purely from that angle, not necessarily that of any government coming in, because we know it's a collaborative affair. But let me ask you about, yes, staying on parliament. It's another year, it's another session you're about to start in parliament, which will take us into 2025, right? What are your expectations of the 8th Parliament in its final year? The storied history of the 8th Parliament, from the inception where there was the tussle in Parliament, voting, is it Carlos Ahenkra running with ballot papers? It was Carlos, right?
Sure.
And then the chase, and then the beating, and then Alban Bagman becoming historically first leader of parliament, speaker from the opposition. What are your expectations for this year?
Ben, I think this year is going to be a very smooth year. Things will fall in line. I don't think we'll see that kind of aggressive approach to policies and programs that government will introduce. I'm saying this because government has virtually nothing to introduce. No any new thing will be coming to us. I do not think that government will be coming in with policies that will impose more taxes on the people, where we will say we will not agree. You would have even heard that they are trying to backtrack with some of the policies, the tax policies that they have introduced.
And then we'll get there.
And so, again, given the kind of primaries that they went through, where the presidential candidate is alleged to have supported some candidates against sitting MPs, and some of these sitting MPs have lost. I do not think that they will get it easy whipping them in line to do things that ordinarily these MPs wouldn't have done. It's a fact that sometimes as a person, your government introduces a policy, within you feel that this is not a good policy. But because sometimes we run the whip system, you are forced more or less to accept it. I can tell you this time, this government is not going to get that from their own members of parliament. Rightly so, because of the way they've been treated. Because if you have a certain MP, you go and sponsor a candidate to unseat him, and you think that he should come to parliament and still cooperate with you, it will be difficult. So I do not think that we'll have those kind of...
we have indeed heard of some such stories and some such lamentations. We get to hear of these, but I do not know how much currency you can give that. It is their party, and I don't know, but give or take, that party has given them certain opportunities. They have led. Some go and some come, right?
No, so just go back and look at what happened during the e-levy time with Adjo Asafo. Clearly, we all knew that Adjo Asafo was not happy when she was changed from leadership. And so it translated into her attitude during the e-levy period. And I'm saying that many more of them are ready to do Westerns. And so government will suffer. And for us...
You're saying this for a fact based on
interactions?
I'm telling you,
I've listened to quite a number of them just yesterday.
No, I'm asking, is it interactions on TV, radio, or you've had personal interactions
with these MPs? I don't want to mention names. Even some who voluntarily did not contest are peeved. And they're saying that we should watch and see what will happen on the floor. And they are encouraging us. I can swear to you, I've met quite a number of members of parliament from their side who are saying that you guys must win this election. It's a must for you. Win this election. Our party needs to go back to the drawing table and begin a new set of arrangement. Because
you're telling me MPs are telling you this?
Not one, not two. Okay? So, and on our side, we're going to listen to Ghanaians. Wise will represent them on the floor of parliament. And what Ghanaians will say we don't want, that is what we're going to ensure that government doesn't do that to them. If the Ghanaian people are saying that we don't want the imposition of taxes, I can tell you we're going to resist any imposition of taxes. If the Ghanaian people are saying that we do not want anything to be introduced in this parliament, that is what we are going to do. We're not going to do anything different from what the people of this country expect us to do. As an opposition, we need to ensure that government doesn't have it all to do whatever they want. Thank God Ghanaians have given us very good numbers, 137, 138, and I can tell you they're not going to get it easy from their side. Many of them will not come to parliament. Many of them, when they even come, I can tell you, if it is secret balloting, they will vote for us. And that's where we have gotten to. And that is the beauty of democracy.
You said something about taxes and levies and how strong a force the NDC would be. You've not proven to be that strong force. We have, quite a number of examples. Budgets that have passed even in spite of vehement protests from Labour, among others. The e-levy you were mentioning is one of them. So why should people believe that in 2024, all of a sudden, and even if they believed you, wouldn't be for political reasons? Why should Ghanaians believe your party?
No, Ben, I think I blame this on the kind of system, the constitutional arrangement we have, okay? Where, for instance, this budget that was passed, we had listed some tax handlers and said that we're not going to support them. And we organized a press conference, we went on TV, we went on radio to educate the Ghanaian people that these are the kind of taxes that they're going to impose on you. Talk about the emission tax, talk about the imposition of tax on electricity consumption, and many, many other taxes that we were able to articulate very well to the Ghanaian people. And we even went beyond to tell them the impact that it was going to create on them. Okay? And so when we got to Parliament on the voting day, we said we're not going to vote for these policies. And so the first one we voted and they won. They won because one of our members was sick and was not in this country. And then we realized that if we were to vote, it was going to take the same trend. So we distanced ourselves from those tax handles, but they carried the day. So yes, one could say that Parliament passed those policies.
But by stepping away, some would say that you should have fulfilled your parliamentary duty. Vote so that we count and we know that X number was against and Y was for. You failed in your constitutional duty.
No, we didn't.
To the ordinary Ghanaian.
We didn't because we voted. The first one we voted and we lost. And see, this is not the first time we have seen this. I've told you that the constitutional arrangement that we have in this country is not helpful. Where in the situation where government says that this is what I want, government is able to whip all their members of parliament, to go that direction. It's unfortunate. And this is not the first time it has started. If there's anything we can do to change it, we must do it. So that members of parliament can have the free will to do what they want to do. Let me tell you, those who kicked against e-levy first, talk about Eugene and co. Government followed up and ensured that they lost the elections. Listen to what my good friend and brother Akufo-Addo said. Because he was one of those opposing and asking that the finance minister should resign because of the imposition of taxes and other inimical policies. Okay? They followed him to ensure that they get him out. He was just
do you actually believe that happened? I've had a number in confidence. I've had some people, even members of parliament, share a few things with me. But do you actually believe that happened?
I believe in that. It's clear.
You're saying manipulation took place?
No, they will follow you and ensure that they use money to get you out. And so sometimes, these are some of the problems. And so for us from the minority side, we have stated our position clearly on issues of taxation, and we have said that we're not going to support them. And even as we speak, we are in line with, we are in agreement with TUC that they should demonstrate. You see, if TUC had even started a demonstration at the time we were talking about these policies, I don't think we would have even gotten to this level. But civil society, the clergy, and all those who matter, including the media, left their work to us. We did our bit. Today, they are beginning to implement the policies, and people are anticipating the hardship that these policies will bring to bear on us. And now we are talking. Thank God, it's late, but I think we'll get results. But the difficulty is that this government cannot, okay, or let me reframe my statement. It will be difficult for them to do away with this 15% on the electricity.
How so?
The truth of the matter is that
we've been told that cabinet has met, there have been meetings,
now,
and that there's a contemplation to let go of it. You heard Nana B, a stalwart of the MPP, come out and say that it shouldn't be implemented. We've heard from the ECG's boss, Samuel Dubik Mahama, say that, they don't even know how they'll go about it. But we know that government needs this money, right?
Yes.
To meet certain requirements as far as the IMF is concerned. It's not to say that's the only route they can use, but this way or that way, they need that money.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So where was Nana B when we're talking about these taxes on the floor of Parliament and on radio and on TV and all of that?
To be fair to him, he's not a decision maker, is he? These decisions are taken at the level of cabinet. He's not on cabinet, is he?
So today he's now calling on cabinet and calling on the Minister of Finance to do away with it. So he could have done same at the time we're talking. This is hypocrisy. He's come to realize that they are in election year and that he's focusing on the political negativities that they are going to embrace as a result of the imposition of this tax. Not because he's feeling for Ghanaians. He's just thinking that this will finally kill their administration, and so they should, as it were, call on their own government to do away with it. Where were they when all these decisions were taken at cabinet level? Is he saying that he was not in this country? The ECG was. Is he saying that he was not consulted?
So you're calling them what? Political hypocrites?
And let me tell you, Ben.
No. Are you calling them hypocrites?
Yes. They are just trying to see a way through to make their government look good, which is not going to wash. Let me tell you what is happening. We are all in this country, and we are all politicians, and we nose around to get information from where we're supposed to get it. Now, before they came to read the budget, the IMF had put to them two options. Okay? That there's a need for you to raise revenue to the tune of 0.2% of the GDP of the 2024 budgets. That's one option. Another option is that reduce expenditure by 0.2% of GDP. Choose one. The government decided that, look, this is an election year, we need money to spend. This is an election year, we need to do things for Ghanaians to be happy with us. So we have to implement some projects. And so we will go in for tax imposition. And so, yes, 15% imposition of tax on electricity consumption will give us the 0.2% of GDP.
No, but
and so that's the option we want to go
I don't know how logically, doing some logical analysis, logical reasoning with this, I don't see how it washes from where you're coming.
Sure.
Because, listen, if it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
If you're saying you're going to embark on developmental projects so that the people vote for you, yet you're going to be taxing the people, I don't see. Do you get it? It means that your aim will not necessarily...
No, so
will not necessarily pan out. So I don't know whether they are implementing this because they don't want to give off on projects that they may embark on, and yet they want to tax the people. I don't see the correlation.
That's exactly my point, and that's exactly the point. I mean, the direction they want to go. That, you know what, this election year, we need cash, we need money. There are instances where we can use this money directly to influence individuals.
Is this a case of party no hiasika?
There are instances where some strategic projects will have to be executed, and we need money to do that. So let's take the money and go and do those projects and look good in the sight of the people. That we are able to commission projects in an election year. That we are able to dish out money for our campaign activities. And so going in for the 0.2% GDP, we should get that from taxation. Hence the imposition of the 15% tax on electricity. The other option could have been for them to reduce expenditure. And you know the impact of it? One of them would have been to reduce the size of government. Can you imagine if today Nana Addo is reducing his ministers? The negative impact it will create on even the party. Can you imagine today the numerous government appointees that are hovering around the Flagstaff House doing nothing? If you ask them to go home, you think their families and they themselves will vote for the party? You think the secrets that they know about the government, they won't expose them? So it's between choosing, reducing size of government, reducing your expenditure, and imposing taxes on the Ghanaian. And they have decided that, why not? Let's impose taxes on them. And that is where we are. Now they have imposed the tax. Ghanaians are crying. World Bank is saying, choose. We'll still give you the option. You can still choose today. If they are saying that they'll come back to Parliament and read a new budget, and in that budget they will reduce expenditure, World Bank is fine with that. Anything apart from this, you have to implement the 15% imposition of tax. And that is why, if you watch TUC very well, these are very intelligent people handling that organization. They are not in a rush to say that we will not continue with our demonstration because Cabinet has decided that they are going to reduce it. This government should write officially to TUC and all those who matter to Parliament and say that, look, we are reversing the 15% that we are imposing. But you see, I've heard something in the media, and let us all put it on record, that, oh, this imposition of tax on electricity started under John Mahama, and that he started it. Yes, that idea came up. And it was part of the value, the VAT policy and VAT law. Then Mahama in 2013 said that, look, this couldn't be implemented because it's going to put so much hardship on my people. So they didn't implement it. Since 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, he didn't implement it. But it was still in the bill, in the acts. Now, 2017, you came. You didn't scrap it. You were there scrapping all sorts of taxes you call nuisance taxes. You didn't scrap it. 2022, 23, 2024, election year, you are implementing it. How insensitive. And so nobody should compare Mahama's idea of putting it there and not implementing it to their idea of implementing it under these hardship conditions.
Right. Staying on the bit about levies and taxes, there's also the emissions levy, the eco tax, if you like. And people have spoken about that in terms of what the ripple effects will be. Some have said that these twin taxes, the VAT on electricity and this, are bound to create problems, economic problems for the generality of the people. What's your reaction?
First of all, the emission tax, as articulated by the minority leader, and I was with him when we went to the party office to organize a press conference on these matters. We said it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense.
Why not?
If you want to impose a tax handle or a tax policy, there are so many reasons for which you impose it. One, it may be that you want to bring in revenue. So your target is revenue, and we all know that this is what you want to get. It could be that you want to discourage the use of certain things. For instance,
like tobacco, alcohol.
Tobacco, alcohol, you want to put so much tax on them in order that it become expensive and the people will not patronize it. That's another reason. Tell me, what is the reason for the emission tax? We are told that it should reduce.
Here in Accra, for example, we have the air quality index pointing to the fact that in the last few days, I think around Sunday, we hit the highest in the world among that. Are those not reason enough? You have global warming and its devastating effects. I mean, if it is targeted properly, is it not a tax handle that
So how will it be targeted properly and it will reduce emission? Are you saying that the number of days you use your car, you pay tax according to the number of days, so that if I'm going to pay high, there are days I will not use it, so I will emit what is it called?
May not necessarily be so, but
I'm just giving you
in tackling
so
the
tell
situation.
me, how will it be done in a way that it will reduce emission and that it will inure to the benefit of the climate? The problem is this.
You are the lawmaker.
We just copy wrongly. Okay? There are jurisdictions where today they are moving into electric vehicles. And they have gone far with it. You go to those countries, there are manufacturers who are doing electric vehicles. Those electric vehicles, in some cases, are subsidized. So people patronize them. That's one. Two, those vehicles, everywhere you go, there are charging centers where the vehicle user can easily stop and charge the vehicle. Now, if you impose taxes on Ghanaians who are using vehicles in this country, that will not stop them from using the vehicles. And that will not stop them from emitting what is it called, air. And so virtually that couldn't be the reason that you are imposing taxes because you want to reduce the usage of vehicles. So clearly you're not getting it there. Now let's look at the amount of money it's going to rake in. I haven't done the calculations, but roughly, if you want to juxtapose the inflows, the revenue that you are going to get vis-a-vis the impact it's going to create and the hardship that it's going to put on Ghanaians, it's not worth it. Again,
are you suggesting this is going to be another e-levy? Which will fail to achieve its targets?
Where's an e-levy? Where's an e-levy? And the social impact of it is something we must also look at. Now, if I were an Okada rider, because Okada guys are going to pay, the Prajia people are going to pay. That's money. Yes.
No, I'm not saying it isn't.
Yes. So what is going to happen is that it's going to lead to an increase in fares. If I use Okada, I'll now have to build this into my pricing. Okay. So again, hardship on the Ghanaian. When in natural fact, we don't even know the reason why you are bringing that tax handle. Because if it is to reduce emission, it's not going to reduce emission. There are no electric vehicles in this country. And so how is it going to impact on the climate? So clearly, they got it wrong. But you see, somebody told me that, look, there's some money sitting somewhere that if you are able to implement such policies, you are going to get those monies from those organizations.
Are you talking of carbon credits?
Carbon credits. And that is the motivation. But you see, you don't take such decisions.
But that is also a reality.
But you don't take such decisions at the expense of your people. Okay? So one would have thought that we'll take our time, encourage people to use electric vehicles, or government can take a policy and say that, look, all government vehicles, let's go electric in the next 2-3 years. And to do that, we'll get a company that will come in here and set us up. Get sentences where we can easily charge our vehicles and all of that. Before you think of imposing such taxes, this tax that they have imposed on us is useless. It has no any impact in terms of even raking in reasonable revenues.
What I'm curious about, should an NDC government come in future, and this is where I usually get concerned with the politics in our country, whether you would maintain some of these tax handles or do away with them. We've seen the MPP, it called some taxes, nuisance taxes, took a number of them off, and now they've added so many more. And that is the ping pong that you politicians tend to play.
Ben, one thing I want you to know is that...
Quick reactions, and then I'll bring in the Public Accounts Committee.
One thing that I want you to know is that the NDC is a credible party. The NDC is
led... That's the same thing.
The NDC, I'm coming to that. The NDC is led by credible people. The NDC is a party that believes in the future of the Ghanaian.
Okay.
And so I can assure you that whatever we are saying that we will do away with, when Mama is in government, he will do away with it.
All right.
And he will not do away with it and nicodemously bring in similar policies or similar tax handles. He won't do it.
All right. You're not talking to me, you're talking to ordinary Ghanaians.
Yes, and I'm saying that...
And when we get there, yes, I mean, they will decide. And,
but I know that
should you get the nod, they will judge you.
Inshallah, I know that I will be alive at that time. And come and ask me if we are doing anything contrary to what we oppose. We are not going to behave like...
You're on the Public Accounts Committee, and... It appears every year. You know, I'm honestly, personally, I am sick and tired of the different accounts that come up. I was just reading of one today, the National Sports Authority, and I don't know, especially when it comes to sports in Ghana. You look at the games we're preparing for, and you would find that the team usually would struggle for small money, so to speak, compared to what we would pump into a Black Stars team, $8.5 million, with nothing to show. There must be something in football, for example, that makes people want to fight, just as I believe there's something in Parliament that makes you and your team, MPP, NDC, always willing to give so much just to become parliamentarians. In recent times, I've had people share with me how they spent millions in primaries just trying to become members of parliament. Why would you want to do that if there weren't something in there? But let's focus on the public.
No, but you can't. I can't leave this. And
why we keep hearing of these very dastardly criminal actions, and they are going on. What is it? What's going on?
Ben, you're not the only person who is sad when it comes to the findings that we see anytime we sit at the Public Accounts Committee. There are so many things that went wrong. Unfortunately, people do that with impunity. They do that with impunity because at the end of the day, they go free. They are not punished. And so, Thursday or so, I was a little bit worried. And so I even granted interview to some media houses. And I was saying that the audit service, and for that matter, the Auditor General, should do us a favor with some of the recommendations that they make. For instance, a procurement breach. And I'll give you an example. Ghana Immigration Service awarded a contract 2.5 or so million Ghana cedi for the construction of a dormitory and a wall at Asimfosu Training Center. Somewhere down the line, they decided to vary the contract. Ben, you know what? It's now more than half of the original price has been added to the old price. So it's now 5-point-something million. With a recourse to the Public Procurement Act. They came there, and the recommendation from the Auditor General was that they should go for retrospective approval. And it ends there. Can you imagine?
That's what the Auditor General gave.
They said
retrospective approval.
They should go for retrospective approval.
In other words,
just go
granted, and then they can move on.
They can move on
when the project has more than doubled in price.
Yes, there's clearly a breach of the law, and we think that we should just ask them to do a retrospective, ask for a retrospective approval, and we are good to go.
In such instances, do you get to interact as well with the Auditor General and find out why?
So, for instance, before we even started, we met him. And we pointed to him that some of these things they don't help. You can't fight corruption. When somebody goes wrong, all you ask is that go and do retrospective approval.
What did the Auditor General say?
Yeah, he lamented and said that they're going to improve upon their way of recommendation. But you see, there's so much inconsistency. On one hand, you see the Auditor General saying that prosecute the person using Section 40, Section 72 of the Public Procurement Act. On the other hand, you are saying that we should go for retrospective approval. Are the people different?
Are you suggesting the Auditor General himself has work to do, like cleaning, house cleaning?
A lot. And I've said that on air, and I told them, the officers who were there on Thursday, I told them that I'm not happy with what's going on. The inconsistency is too much. You can't blame them alone. Now, let's also look at our way of doing things, even in Parliament here. Okay? The Public Accounts Committee will sit, and some of these issues that we are looking at, we put them in our reports and take them to the plenary. What people don't know is that our powers are limited as a committee. The House is the rightful place to take major decisions, not the committee. So what we will do is to interrogate the people and present our report to the plenary. And so we will make recommendations. Now, when we make our recommendations, the report is debated, and after the debate, the Speaker will rule. Normally, the Speaker will refer it to, there should be a standing, a special committee to handle it. As we speak, Parliament, we don't have that. So you go debate it, and it ends there. So instances where we have even asked that they should prosecute people, they should take them to court and all of that, once we finish the debate, nothing gets done. And that is my worry. But I was happy that the majority leader raised this issue the last time we had a debate on one of the reports, and said that there's a need for the committee to be set up immediately. so that once we are done with the debate, and once the House agree with the recommendations in there, the document is referred to this committee, and this committee will now liaise with the necessary agencies, the Attorney General's office, the various ministries, to ensure that these individuals are punished. If not that, then I agree with you that yes, we could do better. What I have realized is that some of the infractions are going down because of the embarrassment that people go through when they appear before the committee. And some of them openly will tell you. For instance, 3-4 days before some will even appear, they will ensure that they do the rightful before they come. So if they were supposed to recover some money from some people and they don't do it, and they are served a letter that 3 days time you are supposed to appear before the Public Accounts Committee, you see them rush to get the money before they come. Okay, and they come and say that, we have been able to recover that. So because of that and many other things, the infractions are going down. But I think that we can do better.
But this retrospective bit, where people are allowed to do the wrong thing before we... the damage is done. How do we address it? Very briefly.
It's a source of corruption. It's a source of corruption. I mean, if I will get the opportunity to, if you like, vary a contract more than 60%, the law says that it shouldn't go beyond 10%.
Plus, these people, by the way, some may benefit from it, maybe even invest the money and later reinvest. Exactly. So they've still benefited from the wrong.
So for me, if you breach the law, you should go to court and answer. First of all, we'll take the money. Taking the money doesn't mean that you haven't committed a crime. You have committed a crime, but it's possible for us to retrieve the money. So you bring the money and go to court and tell us why you have breached that law. Right. That should be the trend. But that's not what we are seeing, and I think that is worrisome. But I think that once we are able to set up the committee in Parliament, after every report being debated, we can now refer it to the committee, and some of us will follow through. But I have told some of them that I have taken note of some of the infractions. For instance, this variation at the immigration service. It won't end there. I told them that, look, even if they go on retirement, they can still be called back to come and answer questions. And me, I've written some of them down. And Ben, you wait and see. I pray for long life.
Well, you mentioned the GRA. Reverend Dr. Amishadai came to mind, but let's move on. What is the plan, the itinerary for PAC, the Public Accounts Committee, this year? Briefly on that. I mean, what more can we expect?
No, I think we are almost done. So tomorrow we'll sit. And then on the 12th, we are starting with the public boards and corporations for 2022. In fact, some of us joined PAC in 2021 and we had a backlog. But we have worked hard to clear that. So what is now going to happen is that if we're able to do 2022 this year, then we'll be in line with, we'll be on a level ground with the Auditor General, so that as and when they drop the report in Parliament, we do it. So there won't be any backlog. But from 12 onwards, you expect some interesting revelations, because I can...
From the 12th?
Yes, I have the document here. The report is very interesting. Some infractions. And apart from that...
Give us a teaser of what we can expect.
Apart from that...
Give us a teaser of what we can expect. I'd like to know. I'm curious.
Yes,
what can we expect?
But what I'm saying is that the kind of corruption-related matters that we have seen in the 2022 public boards and corporations are very interesting. And we're going to procurement infractions that we're talking about, where somebody will vary a contract. Sole sourcing. You know, sole sourcing was one of the things that Nana-Addo used to castigate and to run down the NDC administration, and made so many promises. Very soon we'll tell you, we are doing some work with a few of my guys. From 2017 to 2022, we want to list all the sole source contracts. And you see the number of contracts that have gone through sole source. Then we want to list all those that were variations unlawfully, because if you want to vary, you either go to the tender board or you ensure that it doesn't go beyond the required percentage. We'll list all of them very soon, and we'll engage you to see the kind of rot. And that is why today this government cannot talk about corruption.
Does it surprise you then that we were able to maintain our score on the Corruption Perception Index?
No, we haven't performed.
But we're still at 43.
Yes, we haven't performed. And don't forget, that is for the previous year. Westerns are happening now. And
but the report you're looking at,
yes,
the committee's report feeds into last year.
In any case, Ben, Mahama's worst performance is their best performance.
But if you do the cumulative effects, Mahama retrogressed compared to this administration. No, if you add even from the 46 to the 48, no, I'm just saying cumulatively.
Yes.
If you add all the figures and you do the subtractions, it ends in negative for Mahama. It ends in 0 for Akufo-Addo. Unless you are looking at it in terms of high scores
figures and high
scores.
Yes, of course, that's what we should be looking at because these are annual assessments. Okay, so if you are looking at it from that perspective, that's how you should look at it. I've never seen any report anywhere where they have run it, in aggregation. No, I haven't seen it anywhere. The report they normally would turn out is that is an annual basis. And we are saying that Mahama's worst performance is their best performance. And these are people who were everywhere chanting and making noise about corruption. Corruption under this administration is legendary. And look, they find it difficult to even talk about corruption now. And I can tell you, when it comes to corruption, I can testify that Mahama did certain things that I will never forget of. And I give you one example. I walked to him because somebody had come to me. And this is the first time I'm saying it here. Saying that he just won audience with Mahama. There's a corruption allegation against him. He's going through some prosecution. And so he wants to talk to Mahama so that Mahama will just know his side of the story. That's all that he was looking for to do. Then I went to him. I said, bro, so and so is going through this. But he's asked me that you just spare him some time to tell you his side of the story. You know what he told me? Yusuf, he's being investigated. He's being prosecuted. He's my brother. I know that he's worked for me. I don't have powers to engage him on matters like this. Let the law take its course. This was his own appointee. Today, tell me, under Akufo-Addo, a single person that they are prosecuted under his watch. One person, tell me. This is a man.
He says they are whistle clean. If they emerge clean, why should you?
You have a president.
But each of them.
You have a president where
most of them have been cleared by. Most of them have been cleared by institutions of the state.
Why wouldn't they be cleared?
Right?
Why wouldn't they be cleared? They'll be cleared because, for instance, you have Cecilia Dapa, who, when allegations were made against the ab initio, what the president said was that I have so much trust in her, I know she will come out clean. What they are saying is that state institutions should watch your words. You think those who have been appointed by him, they want a situation where they go contrary to his thoughts and his mind?
I'm going to ask you a pointed question.
So he was just
I'm going to ask you a pointed question.
That is the outcome I wanted.
Hold for me.
Mahama will not do that.
I'm going to ask you a pointed question.
And the difference between the two of them.
I think this is a debate, and I think I just have to put this to bed. For President Mahama, and I had an interview with him, I believe September the 14th, 2020, and I posed that same question to him, which the journalist posed to him. Have you ever been corrupt? And he asked, is it as an individual, is it as a whatever? Now we've seen Akufo-Addo. Is Mahama corrupt? And if not, is Akufo-Addo corrupt?
Mahama is not corrupt.
Is Akufo-Addo corrupt?
Akufo-Addo is corrupt.
Why?
I have seen evidence of Akufo-Addo taking cash from people. We've all seen it. Tell me, have you ever seen Mahama taking evidence of cash from anybody?
That is one. Which incident
in
are you
the case of
referring to?
Alhaji Abbas and Alhaji Abbas's wife and some council of elder, a chief, meeting him and giving him money. He should come out and deny it.
No, but those
he
instances,
should come out and deny
how do they border on corruption?
Oh, when you were... You have not listened to the video?
I believe
where somebody said that I've been sent to you because I want you to keep such a person at post, and so that's why we've come to see you. Blah blah blah. At the end of the day, he's handing over money to you. What was it for?
And that's the evidence you can adduce.
What was
say
it for?
That
that is
one.
Is corrupt. Two. I'm saying that in terms of fighting corruption, Mahama has demonstrated it. Again, let me tell you, national service. Some wrongdoings took place under him, and they were being investigated. One of them happened to be my cousin. He came to me. Can't bro do anything about this, and I'm innocent. So please talk to him. I'm innocent. Please talk to him to do something about it. You know? I didn't want a situation where Mahama will go home one day and he will meet him and say that I had asked Yusuf to talk to you on this matter. Did he do that? And he will say, oh, he didn't do it. So I went to Mahama. When I finished with Mandare, I said, Yusuf, this is a corruption-related matter. And as a president, there's little I can do about it. Let the law take its course. This is Mahama talking. He might have forgotten.
Let's conclude on this. Bawumia speaks, Dr. Bawumia will be
Yes.
speaking, talking about how and where he means to take the country to should he become president. We have elections coming up in 2024. How do you react to these two matters? And then we can conclude.
Bawumia, the least talk about him, the better. I mean, it's a disappointment, not just to his family, but to the whole of the North.
He's a disappointment. He's vice president.
To the whole of the North.
He's vice president.
Yes, I know. If he's a vice president and he's a disappointment to all of us, shouldn't I say it? This is a man who says one thing and do the other. This is a man who promised that in 2 years' time in their administration, every community in this country, every village in this country will not regret for voting for them because they were going to provide.
Well, that was the member of the Public Accounts Committee, Yusuf Sulemana, who's also the member of parliament for Bole Bamboi, in an intellectual discourse with Benjamin Akakpo. And what he said that was interesting to me is that John Mahama is not corrupt, but President Akufo-Addo is. Anyway, we have more discussions coming up. But right now, we've got a conversation with former President John Dramani's aide. The team is currently on the Building Ghana tour, canvassing for votes ahead of the general elections. Joyce Bewa-Monsgari has been interacting with Nana Yaojima, who's on tour with the team. We're bringing you that in a bit. Stay tuned.
For some weeks now, the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, has been on a Building Ghana tour, which aims at collating the opinions of Ghanaians in building a party manifesto for the next election. Presently, the tour has made a stop at Tamale, where the flag bearer of the NDC has been engaging some groupings within the region. I have with me Joyce Barr, who is one of the aides to the former president and flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. Hello, Madam Joyce. Welcome to Joy News.
Well, thank you very much. I am actually his special aide and spokesperson, so I am supposedly the senior aide to the former president. Well, thank you very much, and I'm sure that we embarked on this tour in the aftermath of Mr. Mahama's emergence as flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress. And so for the last few weeks, we've gone the length and breadth of Ghana. The main purpose is first and foremost to engage with the rank and file of the party. Secondly, to listen to the good people of Ghana from all walks of life. And thirdly, to be able to pick up on our thoughts as we go along to present in our manifesto for the 2024 election. I'm sure you know that the NDC in particular had a People's Manifesto in 2020. Indeed, this was one of the manifestos that was adjudged by various civil society organizations as being very, very responsive to the needs of our country. Indeed, what we intend to do is to build upon what we had in 2020 as we go forward. So I'm sure you've heard Mr. Mahama referencing to the manifestos as the People's Manifesto and asking people to raise the issues that concern them so we can continue to add on. My brother, the Building the Ghana tour is largely one of reconstruction, to reset, to rebuild, and to reposition the country as we all imagine and expect. Indeed, we also do know that Mr. Mahama is actually one of the most experienced in terms of our contest, and largely somebody who embodies the experience that we require, the temperament of the leader we need at this time, and the style of leadership that we require going forward. You and I live in Ghana. We are not oblivious to the level of corruption that has befallen this country. We are not oblivious to the level of hardship, to our inability to pay our debts, because Ghana now has an indebtedness of well over $570 billion Ghana cedis and counting. We are currently unable even to pay our external debt. And of course, we have gone into an IMF program. You and I were in Ghana when we were told that Ghana was going to be above aid, that Ghana will never go back to the IMF, that indeed we commemorated all these things with watches, celebrations, etc. Be that as it may, Mr. Mahama presents a great opportunity for Ghanaians to hope again, for Ghanaians to anticipate the type of leadership that we all imagine. Indeed, we expect a certain experience, a certain modesty above everything else, because one of the biggest challenges today is the level of unbridled waste, the level of unbridled corruption and stealing, the lack of discipline. And you heard yesterday the Yana in Yendi, who mentioned the fact that he expects a leader who will be firm, a leader who will reshuffle even persons very close to him. And I think that that is a mark of every leader that we all answer. Look, everything we worry about is about leadership. If a leader refuses to fly on private jets, people will know that he's being modest. If a leader refuses to waste on a national cathedral and put in so much money at a time when we are totally broke, people will appreciate it. If a leader will use every opportunity he gets to reset the button by way of building back on what we've lost. Look at the country Ghana. If you pick up a bill from, say, Papaya or any of the food joints, look at the number of taxes on there. Mr. Mahama has promised something, a complete tax overhaul of existing taxes, one that will be handed to experts so that at least they can all work on it and be sure to review them. We are also looking at corruption. Look, one of the main reasons why all of us are poor and suffering is because of the levels of corruption.
So far we've been to 10 regions, and you are aware of some of the issues that are being raised by the people in these regions. What are some of the common elements that run through all of them?
Oh, you and I both know. The first one is infrastructure. Infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. And the reason is simple. Everybody knows that Mr. Mahama, as president, focused largely on rebuilding Ghana's infrastructure. In terms of education, our schools, in terms of hospitals, in terms of road infrastructure. And you see, the one thing about Mr. Mahama was that he was practicing a totally inclusive system of governance. One where there's equity, one where the national cake was shared amongst everybody. And so under his watch, each and every region got its fair share of the national cake. And one thing that has also stood out is the fact that people are worried also about education. They believe that we should take a second look at preschool education, primary education, secondary education, tertiary education. You've heard some of the students about accommodation on campuses across the country. You've heard some of the chiefs and queen mothers about the lack of health facilities in particular. You've heard about the national health insurance and how the poor are suffering more. You were in the Ashanti region with us when they spoke about the Afariwa hospital. That hospital has been left all these years later. We saw as we drove through Adansi Asokwa, the E-block that is almost on the mouth of the road and has been completely abandoned. So there are many of these projects. Indeed, at a time when the country is totally broke, where we need to take a second look at what is a priority, remember that health is important. So Mr. Mahama has spoken to the fact that instead of making large and verbose promises, he would consider rebuilding and first and foremost completing all the outstanding projects.
Staying on these projects, we know that from the conversation that has been going on, the country is having challenges with financing. How is Mr. Mahama going to finance these projects, especially when he himself has admitted that it will be very difficult for him when it comes to issues of the economy and raising resources to finance some of these projects?
Have you looked at the Auditor General's report lately? If we can stem half of that level of stealing, if we can recover half of the monies lost to individuals, if we can stem corruption even by half of what we have currently, I'm sure we'll have enormous resources to apply to the areas that need it most. If we can keep costs down, keep waste down. Remember also that in terms of health infrastructure, there is always funding available. That's one. Secondly, in terms of reforms to corruption, remember that everybody is interested in this subject, and so there will always be avenues for you to raise funding to do so. In terms of road infrastructure, some roads are commercial roads. Once you finish, you put a toll on them and you recover. We were here in this country when the road levy was collapsed. And then, of course, the tolls were collapsed. And we're told that we're going to turn those toll booths into what? Toilets and bathrooms for people to use. What Ghanaians are also looking for is a consistent style of leadership. A leader who is honest, trustworthy, and one who can be trusted. In any case, remember that the reason why we are having these conversations around Mr. Mahama, and I believe personally that he's one individual who was treated very, very unfairly. That the yardstick that was applied to the Mills Mahama administration, if same had been applied to this useless MPP administration from the beginning, the government would have collapsed by now. Completely collapsed. The level of scrutiny, we were told that sole sourcing was going to be what? History. That it will be ending immediately they took office. What has happened? Even for the National Cathedral, one that is not a matter of life and death, nothing was done through competitive tendering. Everything was sole source. And for many other projects, go to the Public Procurement Authority. In fact, indeed, there, one of the first whiffs of corruption that arrived and greeted Akufo-Addo and Bawumia was from the PPA itself, from a gentleman who at a time was actually a key state witness in the case that brought Madame Charlotte Osei home. These are the people who are currently in government. We are all very skeptical about the future of this country under this administration.
Talking about the fight against corruption, former president has, he once had his term in office. He did what he could do, but a lot of the people, especially on the NPP side, tagged him corrupt. Now, what is the strategy that is different from what he did when he had his time in office?
Let me take it from what our peer review mechanisms have given us. Ghana Integrity Initiative, that used to commend Mr. Mahama for his swift action on some issues to do with corruption, has recently, as 2 weeks ago, scored Akufo-Addo and Bawumia 0 in any attempt to fight corruption. We were told that President Akufo-Addo was going to use the ANAS principle to fight corruption. What he has done is to clear everybody who has been accused or alleged to be corrupt. Indeed, the special prosecutor, when the first officer was being sworn in, we heard Mr. Akufo-Addo on Mr. Martin Amidu. What has changed? Indeed, one of the challenges we had was the attacks by Mr. Martin Amidu on Mr. Mahama and his administration. If you remember, when the same gentleman was made special prosecutor and tried to make similar accusations by calling President Akufo-Addo the mother serpent of corruption, we all saw what happened. When he gave an opinion on the Ajapa deal that was brought before him, what happened? He was literally chased out of office. In frustration, the man resigned and screamed that he was afraid for his own life. This is what we have as an example currently. So, of course, Mr. Mahama's record speaks volumes. I was at the Ministry of Transport when the bus branding issue occurred. In fact, when you look at it today, we're looking at how much? 1 million Ghana cedis at the time. But the noise that greeted that issue. But what did Mr. Mahama do? He actually asked one of his most popular ministers to tender her resignation. The matter was investigated. Indeed, the contractor even paid some amount of the money back to the state. When have you heard under Mr. Akufo-Addo or Mr. Mahmoud Bawumia that anybody who was alleged or accused of being corrupt and investigated has been asked to resign or do anything that we know about? Remember what happened in Mr. J's case. Indeed, even the monies were returned to him. The most disgraceful act of corruption in recent times is the matter to do with Madame Siadapa. And you heard Mr. Mahama. Can you imagine that John Mahama were president and a matter such as that with Siadapa had happened? All hell would have broken loose. You see, I think that there's one thing that I always say. Let's be fair to our leaders. Let's show empathy. Let's be considerate in the way we criticize them. Because you see, sometimes, because of the level and the nature of criticism that came even from Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, the lies and the falsehoods they peddled against Mr. Mahama, everybody actually moved towards the MPP, even neutrals.
Don't you think the NDC is now doing same to the party in government?
Let me tell you one thing, we cannot do quarter because you need at least 75% of the media to be on our side. If we had that, we wouldn't even do anything. In fact, we are campaigning even way too hard. You understand? If we had 50% of the support that Nana Akufo-Addo, then candidate, enjoyed from the media and from many key actors, my brother, I can bet you Mr. Mahama can go to sleep.
Is it that the media is not amplifying your voice?
They try, but to what extent?
That's why we are having this conversation today.
Thank you. And that's why I say that in recent times, we have actually gained some level of respectability, but not when we're in office or when we're leaving office. I'm sure, look at the matter of the Ford navigation, for example. Ask yourself, do you think that under Mr. Akufo-Addo, we haven't received bigger gifts than that? Even when the matter of the private jets came up, we were told that it was somebody who was sponsoring those private jets. Check the cost of that as against a Ford Navigator. Indeed, have you ever seen Mr. Mahama using a Ford Navigator? You know, one of the things going for Mr. Mahama is his modesty, his humility. You've been with us this whole trip. I'm sure sometimes even you get surprised at the man's nature, at his affability, and his level of knowledge about the things that really matter. You know, one thing I must confess is that if things had not failed for the New Patriotic Party, maybe even you would not be following us on this trip. Considering all that they promised you, the lectures, to be better managers of the economy, to move us from taxation to production, to find and arrest the dollar for all of us to see, my brother, John Mahama means well. John Mahama loves Ghana. John Mahama is a patriotic citizen. John Mahama will not steal your money and give it to just a few members of his family. I believe that I suffered because I was John Mahama's relative. I believe strongly that I did. Not because of anything, because I have always been a member of the NDC.
In what way? In what way did you suffer?
Everybody, I almost became like the symbol of whatever you consider as family and friends. Think about it. You know, the first time I heard it, I was so shocked. I thought, what's going on here? My father worked in the PNDC, in the NDC for many years. So I thought, how is that possible? But ask yourself, today, in the same breath, the same people who called the press conference and made me a common deputy minister, considering my level of qualifications at the time, and made the subject matter that everybody walked into. Today, they have over 50 family members, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, you name it. And when you call them nepotistic, they tell you that their grandfathers educated them well. Hello?
On this talk, we've heard Mr. Mahama plead with the labor unions to grant him some time when he is elected into office. You know, before they start making demands, they should join in making some money for the country before these demands come. Already we have labor unions on strike. So it means that if Mr. Mahama should be successful in this election, he will inherit all these strikes. What is your opinion about his request and what is currently happening on the labor front?
You see, let me say that if it was not for democracy, I'll say what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. We were here when they got nursing students to roam around roughshod over Mr. Mahama, disrespecting and defacing his posters across the length of the country. They went into schools and sang all sorts of insults and rained them on John Dramani Mahama's person and on his image. Thanks be to God, and inshallah, 8 years later, all of us have realized that all of it was just lies because they wanted power. Today they are in office. What is the story they are telling all of us? The matter is very, very simple. The matter speaks for itself. That Mr. Mahama will certainly be a better leader for Ghana at this time. And I'm sure that even the labor unions know this. Because Mr. Mahama is a man that they've always known. They've always worked with him. But for the partisanship of Mr. Akufo-Addo and Baumia, I'm sure that even at the time, the labor unions were willing to sit and jaw with Mr. Mahama, as we've always done. But you see, they were convinced at the time that this was a government that was rendering you poor, that it was because of the Mr. Mahama and his administrations that you people were not getting paid well. 7 years later, what is the story?
But you think now, when Mr. Mahama should come back to office, they'll have that kind of patience that he's seeking from them?
I'm sure that all of us have learned some good lessons. We've learned the value of collaboration. We've learned the value of negotiations. We've also learned the value of what transparency and accountability can do for us. And Mr. Mahama put it beautifully that he will sit with members of the labor union. In any case, why are we even having this conversation? We should be working very hard in the hope that we can get these stealers out of Jubilee House. We can get these corrupt people out of Jubilee House. That we should get this nepotistic administration out of Jubilee House. Above all, we should also ask God to give us a considerate, understanding, and tolerant leader. Even you in the media have suffered your fair share. A few days ago, I got a story about how they are forcing people on some media portals to drop negative stories about this administration. So imagine that I picked up a phone and called Multimedia, for example, to harass you, literally to drop a story. Or I hounded you out of office like we did many of the other people that they've hounded out. Where is Manasseh Azure today? Manasseh is my brother. But there's one grudge that I bear him, and it is how he conducted the matter to do with the fraud navigation issue. I'm surprised that today, as we speak, with regarding SMN, where is he? He put out that documentary, and what happened after that? If they use the same yardstick that they used for Mr. Mahama to fight this, and I'm telling you, Ghana will have no government. We'll be stateless by now.
But are you sure that the NDC was unfairly treated by the media?
Oh, largely, to a wide extent, yes. Don't forget that I was actually in the media a lot. And I look back on it 7 years ago and now. My brother, if we had even been fair and balanced in our assessment, in our reportage, I'm sure that the story would have been different. But I know that today, all of you here, if you'll admit it to me personally, you will admit that you are worse off than where you started from. That all you had to do at the time was raise the issues and force the government to sit up. Today, you are raising the issues. What is happening? Nobody's listening.
So let's talk about the Building Ghana tour. In rebuilding the economy, the former president has spoken about industrialization and taking advantage of raw materials available in various regions to drive industrialization and create jobs. One thing that keeps running through the minds of many is Mr. Mahama is talking about financing, and now he is also promising to start revitalize some of the industries, to build new industries and all. How should we marry the two, especially with a challenged economy and building industries to create jobs for the youth?
It starts with patriotic citizens. As you and I speak today, we all know and appreciate where we are. It is very, very obvious that one of the biggest threats to our security today is unemployment, largely. And when Mr. Mahama started with that huge infrastructure drive, the reason was simple: to create opportunities for people to get what? To get jobs. Jobs in construction, jobs in real estate, jobs in agric, and jobs across the length and breadth of this country. Indeed, yesterday I visited the rice processing farm of Avnash, which is not too far from my family home. I was totally crestfallen. Why would a rice mill located in the center of Tamale not be working? I am beginning to believe that most of the industries that were left behind by Mr. Mahama, like they did with Commander, was deliberate because they lied about this one district, one factory that they've been unable to do. The best thing is to what? Sabotage the ones themselves. Because of course, if the rice mill is working, every day you hear Mr. Mahama's name. If the Big Share Butter Processing Factory is working, every day you hear Mr. Mahama's name. Of course, most of these people just need some resources. For example, from the Exim Bank. But of course, you know that any project that is associated with the NDC or Mr. Mahama, there is no way you have access to any level of funding. And that is part of the challenge. So yes, the only option we have, and this is for all of us. You see, when it comes to unemployment, it's not about MPP or NDC. Well, of course, unless you are from that small Achim cabal, then of course your story will be different because they've stolen enough for generations to continue to feed fat on us. But in terms of you and I, the ordinary citizen, I come from the northern region. In fact, now Savannah region, since the demarcations were done. I know what it means. Look at the value of UDS to our communities. If you were someone who was visiting here maybe 10, 12 years ago, look at the environment now. Look at what the academics of this country have done to this city. Tamale is now one of the largest growing metropolises, largely because of a sacrifice by late Jerry John Rawlings, one that was seen to fruition by Professor John Evans Atta Mills. And then eventually, John Mahama replicated the campuses in and around the northern regions of Ghana. My brother, Ghana is not just Greater Accra. There are many other, now we have 16 of them. Every leader must understand what equity means and that everybody must have a little bit of what is available. And that is what we are looking for.
Talking about taxation, Mr. Mahama has promised to do away with some of the taxations or taxes that he feels are not relevant. Now there is VAT being imposed on electricity. Organized labor, they are out now speaking against that, and they are ready for a demonstration against the VAT. Mr. Mahama wants to abolish it. How is he going to raise that revenue that is needed to rebalance the economy, especially when he is talking about cutting all these taxes, COVID levies and others?
My brother, this country is a very rich country. And I'm sure you remember Yetisika Sonso Akomdie. You understand? If we were able to ensure that our leaders were sincere with us, that our leaders will collect our revenues and apply them as they should. You heard how much Mr. Amishadai earns as a GRA boss. 137,000 Ghana cedis. That is enough money to take care of at least 50 staff in a small manufacturing company. I ran one, so I know. So tell me that if we were to remove all these fat cats, feeding fat on our small taxes, how do you think we'll be able to utilize? Look, Nana Akufo-Addo is who he is today because of VAT. When he started those Kumipreko rallies against then Jerry Rawlings, even strongman Jerry Rawlings withdrew the VAT bill and went back for consideration. It was reconsidered, the figure was reduced. But even then, look at the numbers of all of the actions that took place, demonstrations across the country. In fact, that is when we all discovered that Mr. Akufo-Addo was actually a human rights lawyer. We didn't know that at the time. Today, the same man is president. And every day, NHIL has gone up. There's a COVID fund long after COVID ended, and yet under COVID, these are people who made well over $5 million of free money from various donor agencies. How were they using those monies? Seriously, that is a very serious matter, this COVID tax issue. We currently are looking at all these other taxes, including the sanitation tax. Look around you. Have you seen sanitation workers across this region since you've been here? We were in the Ashanti region. We were in the middle of KJTIA. You saw the level of rubbish everywhere. And what were the market women saying? And that nobody is helping them even to come. But we are paying a 1% sanitation tax. My brother, if Mr. Mahama can streamline our taxes first and foremost, if Mr. Mahama can work on the constitutional review process, that will also rope in Article 71 office holders. If Mr. Mahama can improve upon infrastructure and complete the projects that are outstanding and being destroyed by the vagaries of the weather, if Mr. Mahama can unite the good people of Ghana, I'm sure that by the time he is able to put all these items together, you and I will begin to see the benefits translate into our pockets. You hear the announcements every day from GRA about the fact that they've exceeded their targets. Where is the money going to? Immigration doesn't sleep. The airports are open. People are still paying. The passenger tax is going. Where are those monies?
Now let's talk about some issues that have made some trends when it comes to the Building Ghana tour. One, we had the former president speaking about LGBTQ, saying that his religion or his belief is against that. Does that mean that when he comes to office, he is going to ensure that this issue of homosexuality, you know, the law that is being made, that the bill before Parliament now is passed, and he is going to assent to it? Is that the explanation or the sense that we are supposed to get from what he's saying?
You know, I remember listening to the UK Prime Minister, Honorable Sunak, when he spoke on this matter. All he did was to reaffirm the fact that biblically, the human race is made up of a man and a woman, and that it is almost incongruous for him to conceive of the fact that you have a man who says they have now become transgender and so are now female and want to be considered as such. And that as far as he is concerned, the sex you are assigned at birth is your sex all through your life. I believe that along similar lines, Mr. Mahama goes to the Assembly of God Church. He's a Christian. And so he knows that the church is very reluctant even to have a debate on this matter. We have also heard that there is a bill in Parliament currently that is waiting for presidential action. But you see, presently, Mr. Mahama is not president of Ghana. I think that is a question that clearly we should direct to Nana Akufo-Addo and, of course, to his vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. But, of course, Mr. Mahama has stated categorically this is his position as a Christian, family-oriented gentleman who wants to lead this country in the next few months.
But does that mean that he'll facilitate the passage of the bill and assent to it if it gets before the president?
But that's if it's not done.
If he wins.
It's not done. You understand? If it's not done, I'm sure that's something that he will consider. But of course, we are hoping that irrespective of the fact that he will be in office soon, that Nana Addo will live up to his own words for himself. Because I heard that it's been there for a while. I know also about the witchcraft bill that apparently he's also refusing to sign into law. I believe that he even wrote to Parliament for the very first time, stating reasons why he wasn't going to do that and quoting copiously from the Constitution of Ghana. So, look, I believe that Mr. Mahama has stated his position very, very carefully, and he was a one-liner. He has also spoken about free SHS and the fact that he does not intend to cancel. In any case, Mr. Mahama was actually on the way to implementing free SHS. What we need to do now is to develop a certain conversation, have a blueprint so that we can put it into proper perspective, create a better way in which we can improve quality. Above all, look at the level of times the kids spend at home instead of being in school. And when they are in school, what is the content of the education they are receiving? Look, if we do not manage free SHS well, in the next 10 years, we will have many educated illiterates. Lack of skills are a big problem for us now. And so it is imperative that anybody seeking to lead Ghana must direct their attention towards a certain skills development. All of us here are multi-talented. It is why we can have these engagements and have these conversations. If we do not start to inculcate that into our young school-going children, Ghana will be poorer irrespective of the investment being made. The challenge now is that they are not even investing. Secondly, even the feeding for the children, I'm sure you heard Mr. Mahama speak about school feeding. It's become like political achomo, and everybody is sharing and taking their share. The only people who are suffering are the kids who are supposed to be fed. We took this whole process away from the schools and handed them to party apparatchiks. Currently, the schools have no control over what is brought for kids to be fed. My mother used to work at the buffer stock company years ago. I know why that company was set up. Today, for all the effort that they put in, it is not living up to expectations. They even send expired grains to these poor schools, and the teachers have their hands tied to their back because they have no resources and they have no way of resolving these issues. The parents must continue to contribute largely to any conversation about free SHS. And I'm happy that the Charles, the Nat, and every well-meaning Ghanaians agree that Mr. Mahama makes a very important point, that this conversation must take place. We must worry about the future of free SHS. We must worry about the quality of education, even the quality of the teacher. And don't forget, Mr. Mahama spent a lot of time on improving teacher quality, on improving access, better training for teachers, and above all, started infrastructure to ensure that we had adequate classrooms for these children to go to school.
On another very controversial issue, the Black Stars, Mr. Mahama made a comment on the Black Stars when he was in the Upper East region that he will make local players from the nucleus of the Black Stars when he is voted into power. It's something that a lot of people are bashing Mr. Mahama for. Is he still standing by what he said in the Upper East region?
You see, let me put it in context. And I listened to an ex-conversation yesterday and all your media sports journalists were on. Fentuo was on, Sadiq Adams was on, Bridget Otu herself, a football enthusiast, was on. They had many other people, including the Honorable Ablakwa, who has come up with matters to do with unaccountability and lack of transparency and some corruption in terms of funding for this last Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Look, there is something that is lacking in the current team of Black Star players. Lack of camaraderie, lack of cohesion. They don't even know one another. The training periods are so short that they have no time even to work with one another. We all saw Inaki Williams as soon as he left. We saw what he did for his team. We've seen, is it Didi or you, one of them, what he did. We all know what Kudus is doing and what he did even in this very disgraceful tournament that we've just returned from. My brother, when we used to have the likes of Tony Yeboah, Tony Bafo, Abedi Pele, and all these other ones, they were young people who had played together apparently in the under-16 tournaments, and then they developed from there. Some of them had played in the other Premier Leagues like Bofuakwa FC, Hearts of Oak. When was the last time you heard that a player from Hearts of Oak was in the Black Stars? A player from Ashanti Kotoko is in the Black Stars. A player from all the other small Premier League In fact, what is happening now is that corruption is so bad and there's so many conflicts of interest situations within the GFA that even we are told, it may be an allegation, that they even now have teams that are owned by them. And these are the teams that they are promoting even within our Black Stars. There is something in training, there's something in building rapport, there's something in building camaraderie, and of course, there is also something in being patriotic. Those countries that have no pennies, they go and play and do better. We heard about Uganda, and I've heard people criticize us for carrying money on an aircraft and taking $3 million. Do you remember what Asamoah Gyan did when the money arrived? Go back to the social media photographs. All of that now, when I think back, they were all very partisan. Because later on we heard the comments from Asamoah Gyan regarding one political party or the other. So they were not playing their hearts out. They were only playing because they wanted to make one government unpopular. Why do you think that at some point in time, a lot of people, even on the political divide, refused even to support the Black Stars? It was because for the first time, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as candidate then, even politicized. And you saw some of the tweets going all over the place. We don't have lights and now we've even lost at AFCON. If Mr. Mahama were like Nana Addo, I'm sure that instead of asking for solutions, he will go out there to and make digs at him. Look, my brother, let's call on our leaders to be honest. Let's call on our leaders to be sincere. Let's work for leaders who care a little bit more. You see, there's something about leadership that we always forget. Let's ask, what do our leaders stand for? Is it just the rhetoric? Is it just the talk? Is it just the noise? Or because it is beautiful and sexy to be a leader? I think it is time for all of us to start to think through what is the nature of leadership that you and I will be proud of, that our children will respect and be happy with. The type of leadership that when you hear the leader speak, it is credible, it is believable. I hear them now trying to say, oh, no, the political class is doing this. The political class is shaming each other. Oh, we are talking about corruption too much. That is why the numbers are going down. Really? Who shamed who about corruption? Mr. Mahama, in his day in office, Professor Mills, if you remember, went all the way to the GRA. And he himself locked doors at the GRA because he had been a former IRS boss. And he knew the sorts of things that were happening there. What was he called? Mr. Doolittle. Wherever he is today, may his soul rest in peace. Mr. Parkwesi Misata is one of Ghana's longest serving deputy finance ministers, a technocrat par excellence. As the vice president, he was ridiculed by a guy who was his deputy at the Bank of Ghana and told that he was giving him 170 questions. At a time, the dollar to the cedi was 3.1. Today, that gentleman trying to tell us that he is worthy or believes that he has acquitted himself creditably enough to run and lead this country. I hope that tomorrow when he is done, the same yardstick that you apply to other leaders, that you will ask him the 170, in fact now there will be 340, because in the last 7 years, today the dollar to the cedi is 12 cedis and counting. You can't even buy the pound. And as for the rest, don't go near them. And in terms of corruption in terms of livelihoods and hardship, Ghanaians are worse. In fact, even on the index of poverty, Ghanaians have gotten poorer. So it means that today, most Ghanaian families cannot even afford 2 square meals. And look at the cost of food in Ghana. I heard about a debate about kenke a few days ago. I heard a debate about bread and the cost of a loaf of bread. Kenke is a staple, just like TZ. So if today we cannot afford to buy maize, and we are even importing maize in the last 7 years, we heard it. You see, look, for all the reasons why Ghanaians went out there, and I remember those days, Mr. Akufo-Addo used to boast about it. Almost 1 million Ghanaians voted for me. Where are those million Ghanaians today?
That's a question you have to leave to the viewers. Thank you very much.
You forget, and I will just add as a footnote. In 2020, for example, something extremely unique happened in this country. That a government that had lost in such large numbers returned to be at par with the majority in parliament. And I still believe that is an election that the NDC almost won. The question is why? Have any of us averted our minds to the reasons why? It was because President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia squandered their goodwill in the space of 2 years. You know, the minute the cash for seats happened, and he defended it. Then the minister got into trouble, and he defended it. And then the Ameri, which was one of the biggest whips that was used for Mr. Mahama, suddenly became the topic. And what were we told? Oh, no, with us it's okay, because we are only extending it. What about the man who brought it to fix a challenge that we're all going through? My brother, I want to appeal to the good people of Ghana to test our leaders, to question the motives for which they want to run for office, to demand accountability and transparency from our leaders. Mr. Mahama has promised one thing, that he will first and foremost be accountable to the good people of Ghana, that he will be very transparent, and above all, he will crack the whip when the time comes. So let's remember to vote for Mahama in 2024.
Thank you very much. How soon are we wrapping up with the Building Ghana tour?
Well, I'm sure that we have 3 regions more to go. In fact, 6. This is the 10th one. So hopefully we are doing Greater Accra between the 14th, 13th and 14th, and then the rest will follow suit. I'm sure, looking at the calendar, 20th we are supposed to be somewhere in the Upper West region, and then we'll be going down. So I'm sure by the middle of March, this should be over, and then we can take a well-earned break, work on the manifesto, and then certainly set up the campaign team. And don't forget, Mr. Mahama has a huge announcement coming of who his choice of running mate nominee will be. So yes, we have quite a number of items on our calendars. We also have some international trips that have been lined up. So we hope that we can complete and conclude these tours very, very quickly. I think that one thing these tours have done, it has actually told me and many others that people believe and trust the process. And they are actually acknowledging that John Mahama did and continues to do his very best for this country. And I'm hoping that that confidence will reflect in the elections of December 2024.
Thank you very much. So that's Joyce Ba Mokhtari, who has been giving us insight into some of the things that the flower of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has been saying on the Building Ghana tour. As she says, 6 more regions to go. That's to wrap up with the Building Ghana tour of the NDC. And by the middle of the year, there's a higher possibility that the NDC will release its 2024 manifesto for the election. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
That was Joyce Montsgari with Nanaya Ojima on the back of the Building Ghana tour. And I think that conversation had a lot of stray bullets, especially on the topic of corruption, which our headlines have been chronicling since last year and getting into the beginning of this year. When asked how John Mahama was going to fund all these projects that they say they're going to do, she brought up the issue of the special audit, the Auditor General's report, and what we are seeing, the list of problems we are seeing from the Public Accounts Committee sitting, and how nothing seems to be done. Even when you accuse these people, you don't. Cecilia Dapa's case is one, Ken Oforiatta, everyone is calling for him to leave, but they are still there. Anyway, we've still got more conversations coming up on the AM show. Now we've got a conversation from AM Business, courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Today, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research is making a strong case for government to address challenges affecting Ghana's cocoa sector. This comes on the back of the 2024 Economist Intelligence Unit Commodities Outlook, which indicates that the price for cocoa will go up. Enjoy.
According to the EIU report, after 3 years of extreme volatility, commodity prices are set to broadly stabilize. In 2024, the EIU said prices for food, feedstuff, and beverages will rise over the course of 2024, driven primarily by beverages, as El Nino will hit production, therefore, prices for coffee and cocoa will rise. Meanwhile, Professor Korte called for a proper restructuring of agencies within the sector.
We should also look at what we are spending on, how we are spending the money, and whether that is an efficient ways of spending the money, and whether we are deriving value for money.
Now let's look at this. We happen to be in an election year. We've seen some labor unions agitate and all that. Looking at the election year, how do we sort of manage labor demands?
It's not new. We see labor agitations in election years. That is when they think they have to demand a pound of flesh. I mean, it happens all the time. But we have gone through, we have pulled through this. There are ways of engaging labor, making them understand the economic situation, making also appreciate your standpoint. But also, it should also reflect in your lifestyle. If you want labor to accommodate certain hardship or accommodate less or little increments rather than asking for higher increments, you also have to reflect on the lifestyle of government appointees. Let's be transparent.
Finally, the EIU is saying there will be some sort of stabilization with respect to prices of some commodities, but there will be an increase with respect to cocoa and coffee. We're looking at Ghana. Now, we've seen cocoa board struggle, we've seen PBC and other. How do we take advantage of these increases based on the EIU report?
Well, yes, all things being equal, as we say, because we also very much aware that Galamsey is destroying cocoa farms. So if we don't manage illegal mining, the output we generate from cocoa might not be what we'll be generating now, and that with the increase in prices, we might not benefit as much as we would have benefited. So we need to fight the illegal mining problem, and if we do so, then we can rake in the revenue from cocoa and also cocoa board, and they certainly have to be supported. I believe in the budget statement and also in the IMF program, there were steps to ensure that cocoa board is restructured, that there will be, the Minister of Finance, for instance, said we're going to be part of the board and so many. So there are steps, proposals that have been made. It's just putting them to practice to ensure that these organizations operate efficiently, they are managed, they are governed properly, efficiently, and once that is done, I believe in the next couple of years.
On the policy rate, Professor Korte expressed optimism in further cut of policy rate in 2024. He expects inflation rate to decline for further cut in the policy rate, hence supporting businesses.
Issues about consultancy, issues about new areas to engage, even issues about the way we train our students, our curriculum development. All of this will come out very well if we engage each other, and I think that's what we are doing, and we're going to deepen that collaboration.
Now, Prof, let me come to the policy rate. We saw 100 basis point cuts with respect to the policy rate. We've seen Fitch also averaging 18% for the year 2024. Looking at various indicators, what's the best way forward? Is it feasible, what Fitch is predicting?
Well, it depends. I mean, we've seen the rate of inflation gradually come down. We have seen exchange rates relatively being stable. We've seen some positive growth rates and inflation expectations coming down gradually. So with all of that, you would expect that the policy rate will be revised downwards. My initial prediction was to have it between 100 to 200 basis points. You don't want to do a massive cut because there are some inherent pressures that may come. One, we've seen gradual increases in global oil prices on the global market. We are seeing, we don't know whether it might come down or might go up. We are also seeing some new taxes that may likely be introduced. That can also indirectly fuel inflation. So, and I believe the Bank of Ghana also looked at the liquidity situation in the economy. You want to balance this carefully, and therefore I wasn't expecting a massive cut in the policy rate, but then not reducing it at all too wasn't an option in my view, because the lending rate is still high for business. Cost of doing business is already high, so you want to do something to cushion them a little bit, and I believe this is the first step, and I believe gradually when things improve, we should see more such cuts to bring down the lending rates and thereafter the cost of doing business.
Talking about taxes, there's this call from the business community with respect to they're calling for a reduction in taxes, and we having the IMF also call for more taxes. What is the best way? How do we sort of manage the two?
I personally don't encourage increases in taxes in this particular moment, because already the cost of doing business is high, cost of living is high, and in as much as we need to raise revenue, I don't think the only way to raise revenue is to increase taxes. If we make tax collection more efficient, I believe we can rake in more revenue. If you make taxes affordable and enforce the tax regulations, more people will pay tax, your total tax revenue will increase. So I want us to explore the other options. I know GRA is doing so, but we need to explore those options further. I've seen some numbers, and I hear they have been able to increase tax collection by so much, but I think we also look at it in terms of its real value. Inflation has been high, so if you have increased tax revenue by 30% and inflation is 26 or 20-something percent, so in net terms, how much have you increased revenue? I mean, those are some of the discussions that we ought to have. Yes, in as much as we see increase in tax revenue, we ought to be careful in celebrating that increase, because if we have increased taxes, and businesses are suffering, and households are also feeling the pinch, we shouldn't be celebrating. Rather, I think we should celebrate if we make tax collection more efficient and also very affordable.
The Bank of Ghana cut the policy rate by 100 basis points to 29% at the recent Monetary Policy Committee meeting.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for a quick break, but that's not the end of the show. When we return, there's more. Welcome back on the AM show. We've had a series of conversations. We saw Benjamin Akakpo engage Yusuf, who's a member of the Public Accounts Committee and Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboi, and then Anaya Ojima also engaged the special aide of Mr. Mahama on the back of the Building Ghana tour. Now, it's time for us to talk about a group of security officers who on Tuesday stormed the studios of Salt FM, a popular radio station in Agogo in the Ashanti region, to disconnect their equipment and shut down the station. We have Nanaya Obuache online with us. Nanaya Obuache, thank you for joining us. Can you give me a rundown of what exactly happened on Tuesday?
It happened last Tuesday around 2 p.m. when security officers, we've been told, we got the clarification this morning that the security officers who went to Salt FM in the Ashanti North constituency yesterday are from the National Communications Authority, who then went to close down the popular radio station in the constituency for what we've been told is the authorization, for not renewing its authorization. Well, it adds up to some political discourse in the constituency as with regards to the owner of the popular radio station in the Ashanti North constituency, Akufo-Addo, who is on the verge of going as an independent candidate in the 2024 parliamentary primaries. Because of this, some people are saying that there are other measures, intimidating measures from authorities to shut down his radio station and to also make sure that he is not getting the popularity he deserves to go as an independent candidate. We would still have to make verification as to whether this is true or not, but then we can clearly confirm that the National Communications Authority yesterday did shut down the popular radio station in the Ashanti North constituency. This radio station, Salt FM, yesterday was being shut down at around 2 p.m., which led to a serious protest in the constituency, where some residents and listeners of the radio station besieged the president or the office of the radio station to demand answers from the National Communications Authority and the security agencies, security officers who made it through the radio station to shut it down. And so clearly this is what happened yesterday at the Ashanti North constituency, the Ashanti region.
Do we know if management has responded to this yet? Management of Salt FM?
Well, yesterday we did seek inquiries from the management of Salt FM. We spoke to the general manager of Salt FM, who then said that it is going to be a long run because they have also not heard from the National Communications Authority. Well, the allegation of not renewing their authentication, they would have to go and seek clarity on that. But then going forward, they would issue a statement as to what really did transpire and the motive behind the close down or the shutdown of the Salt FM in the Ashanti North constituency.
Would you say this is normal behavior? Is this how to handle the non-renewal of authorization? If you can hear me, I was asking if this is the normal approach to handling this situation. Hello, Nana. It appears we've lost Nana Boache. And some security officers on Tuesday afternoon stormed the station at Agogo in the Ashanti region and disconnected their equipment and shut down the station. I think they went away with the transmitter of the station and confiscated some other items to the Kumasi office of the NCA. They're saying this happened because the station failed to renew the authorization, which has resulted in lots of youth gathered at the station to demonstrate, demanding answers as to why this is happening. But Nana Boache was telling us that it's also on the back of some political discourse happening in the city. You know, it's a power struggle, a show of power that, you know, they're trying to prevent someone from being too popular. The owner of the station, Ohene Kwame Frimpong, who planned a health walk in Agogo last Sunday. But the health walk was also stopped by the security agencies at the 11th hour, citing the Public Order Act, which the explanation had is to notify the police about public gathering and the walk. Apparently, he didn't do that. When we can get Nana Boache back, we'll bring you details on that. Boache is back with us. And Boache, I was asking if this is the normal way to handle this type of situation.
Well, this is not the normal way in handling such situations, especially when it comes to matters of communication. It's quite not the norm, because looking at what did happen yesterday, it is a serious matter, which actually brought a lot of listeners to the premises of Salt FM in the Ashanti North constituency. Well, looking at the political discourse over the period with regards to the independent candidacy of the owner of Salt FM, Oheneba Frimpong, it looks as if the people are saying there are intimidating measures being put in place to stop him from contesting as an independent candidate.
By who?
He held a walk on Sunday, which was also stopped at the 11th hour, citing the Public Order Act and his failure to inform the police service about his health walk, which is quite not the norm. But he responds by saying that he did inform the police service and had not breached the Public Order Act. And so if after this thing had happened on Sunday, we go ahead to shut down his radio station, then it looks as if the political discourse when it comes to this whole closure and shutdown of the radio station is quite true, or there's a little bit of truth to what is being said in the constituency.
Who is at the helm of these political antics? Who's showing off his or her power? Do you know who's at the back of all this?
Well, Sweetie, I would not be the best person to answer this question, looking at how sensitive it is. But you can say, as a matter of fact, that from stopping him at the 11th hour from holding his health walk to declare his intention as an independent candidate and shutting down his radio station, this popular radio station, then I think there's a whole lot of political intentions behind it. But then we'll still have to do our own check to verify what led to the shutdown and then who is actually behind this whole political antics, as you put it.
Where is Ohene Kwame Frimpong right now?
Well, yesterday we did try reaching out to him. We have been told that he is in the constituency, and for some time now he has been engaging the residents. You see, for as long as he has his intention to contest as an independent candidate, the first step is to engage the residents, who then be going to the polls to elect a parliamentary candidate for themselves in the 2024 election. And so he has clearly been doing that, and so it has been about engaging the residents over the period. So after this happened yesterday, we tried reaching Oheneba Kwame Frimpong. Unfortunately, we've not gotten to him yet, but management, we've gotten to the manager of Salt FM, and also some of the handlers who are saying that we should give them some time to go through what has transpired over the weekend and also what transpired yesterday so that they can actually come out with an appropriate response.
Okay, so how's the atmosphere as we speak right now at the station?
Well, it is on easy calm at the Ashanti North constituency, because if you go to Ashanti North, Salt FM, I must say, is one popular radio station over there, and if you look at the number of people that came out yesterday after hearing the shutdown of the radio station, you can clearly say that it's an uneasy calm, and residents are actually demanding answers from the National Communications Authority. It does add up to the ongoing political discourse that there is an intimidation process or an intimidating measure to put Oheneba's independent parliamentary candidacy aside so that they can get hold of whatever they want to do.
Thank you so much, Nana Wache-Yadom, for that update. We were just speaking on the shutdown of a radio station, Salt FM, at Agogo in the Ashanti region. Now, we'll take a break. When we return, Benjamin Akakpo joins me, and then we'll take your views on what's happening in the country so far. Keep watching. Welcome back on the AM show. I'm here with Sweetie. I'm here with Benjamin Akakpo. We do this thing. We do this thing where yes. Yes. Benjamin, how are you feeling this morning?
It's quite a morning. It's a bit slow for me, but here we are doing the do, and some interesting conversations, especially the one with Yusuf Suleimana and then Joyce Bawa Tari on some of these developing issues. I mean, this year is a crucial year, electoral year, and there's a whole lot to digest. The year has started pretty fast in terms of the matters that are coming up and all that. So, well, we'll be here and we'll delve into all of those issues. But we have our first call on the line, Hamza.
Oh, okay.
Is it from Ashaiman?
Yes, from Ashaiman, Benjamin. Good morning.
Good morning. Hamza, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Benjamin, I want to make this scenario before I fit into what I want to share my views on. Benjamin, let's say you are a car owner. You bought a car, you give it to a driver for maybe about 10 years. And the driver sends the mate to the open field to teach him how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then he crashes with the car, with a tree beside the open field. Then your driver comes to you to tell you, oh, this was the mate. I was teaching the mate how to drive, and then he crashed the car to this tree beside the open field. Then the driver again tells you that when we get to the motorway, I will give the car back to the mate. Will you continue to give the car to the driver, or you confiscate your key?
I see where you're going. Yeah. I'll leave you to decide what you would do in that situation.
No, I mean you.
I don't have an opinion on this matter.
Ben, please, will you confiscate your key?
I can't share an opinion on this matter. I know exactly what you mean, so go ahead and make your point.
For about this number of years, you had your mate crashes with the country, and then you still wanted to give the car back to your mate on motorway.
But what would you do?
Share
your opinion with us. What would you do in that situation?
Me? Yeah. I will confiscate my key. Immediately you tell me when you get to the motorway, you are giving the car back to the mate. I will confiscate my key.
So there you have it.
I will just take my key and I take my car from you. And so this is exactly what we are going through now. You've been vice president for these 7 years. You are crashing the nation, and then your driver tells us to give the car back to you when we get to the motorway. This is, I don't just get it.
Right.
I am just confused. I don't know why we should even give him the audience. No.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us and for the analogy as well. Of course, I've seen some of this on social media with people sharing their reactions that, the driver couldn't. How about the conductor or the mate?
I was shocked this morning when I read about the case of Cecilia Dapa postponed because of late arrival of the legal team, the defense team. So first, the OSP cannot handle the situation. Then you return the money back to them. And now we can't even sit in court and follow due process.
You would have to speak to the justicial system to deal with that.
I was shocked. All I said was, hey. Anyway, we are taking your opinion and views on...
We have Ishmaela on the line.
Okay.
It's my first time hearing the name Ishmaela, like the female version of Ishmael. Good morning. Ishmaela, good morning.
Morning.
Okay.
Mr. Benjamin.
Oh, did you say Ismaila or Ishmaela?
Yeah, Ismaila.
Okay, all right. That's that. Ismaila. Then
I
that's.
just want to know, Mr. Benjamin, his full name. Ismaila is I-S-M-A-I-S.
Yes, I get it now. Right.
Okay. Mr. Benjamin, please, what's your full name? I heard you are mentioning.
You want to know my full name?
I heard you say Benjamin was something, but the last name I didn't hear this word.
My full name is Benjamin Akakpo.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yeah, okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
He wanted to know.
Maybe he has a package for you. He wants to address it to, with the right name. So.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
You get a few things coming through from different people, so you never know. You can still call that number 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. Sweetie, we have Ahmed in Tamale on the line.
Okay. Hi, Ahmed. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm good.
Share your thoughts. I'm okay, thank you. Share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, I heard, I think, Joyce Bauer speak about the economy and he said a lot. But we have forgotten that as a country we face COVID and then we face Russia. The COVID issue is real for everybody to see. This is the first time in this country that even Joy FM has to be locked for some time. This is the first time in this country that markets
people in Accra and Kumasi were chased out of the market. The markets were locked for weeks, for months, and we didn't go to perform anything at the market. And remember that every single activity we do on daily basis counts, and it has impact on the economy. So if all these things, including Russia, Ukraine, people still think that the performance of this government, people still think that the economy and then the dollar rate and whatever, it will not have impact on all those things. The fellow is playing. We've seen John Mahama's performance as president. One, I think the former special prosecutor identified John Mahama as somebody who was government official one. You see, if they are talking of corruption, under John Mahama, we've seen it all. The guinea fowls that flew from Tamale and other places in the northern region to Burkina Faso, we've seen that under John Mahama. Under John Dramani Mahama, we've seen a lot of scandals. We've seen how they branded Metu Mas, just few buses, and they branded it in charge Ghanaian $1 million.
Hello. Have you also seen the scandals under this administration? Have you seen them?
Yes, we have seen that. You see, what I'm saying is that, you see, in Ghana or in Africa, for instance, we have to compare politicians and look at the rate of corruption. Because when the corruption is taken out of politics, all the politicians, including MPP and this, they will run. They will have to look at the individuals involved. We have never heard of the Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia directly involved in any corruption scandal in Ghana.
Have you heard of the instances, the two instances where it was claimed that the president, and I'm referring to Kwesi Nyantakyi and Charles Bissiou, where you would give the president this and the vice president that? Did you hear that, or were you not in this country?
Have we
were you in this country then? I mean, I don't like doing this, having this banter, but when you make certain categorical comments, then I'll come at you. Did you hear that, or were you out of the country?
I was in the country, and even if I was outside, I think I would have heard that. But those were insinuations. They were not actual issues that were discussed. You see, those were insinuations. That if you want to remember,
insinuations, huh?
The man was doing business
very convenient
with outsiders, and he needed favor from them. He could have said anything. Even John Dramani Mahama, when is it Al Jazeera or BBC journalist asked him whether he was corrupt or whatever.
How about Charles Bissiou? Charles Bissiou was in this government. How about Charles Bissiou? Was he also carrying favor?
You see, my interest here is to compare the two people, John Dramani Mahama and then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That's my interest. You see, Ghanaians are going to make the choice between these two.
All right.
Beside the political, so we see that. Look, let me just land. Let me make this.
No one is holding you. Land. No one is holding you. Go ahead.
You see, in this country, we are in this country that recently majority even came out to oppose their own finance minister. The entire NPP party opposed the finance minister, and the president refused to sack him. It means that issues of sometimes when it comes to these issues, we have to compare the individual even rather than the party. You see, so look at John Dramani Mahama's performance and his corrupt act, and compare that to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, his performance and corruption. Besides that, Bawumia has never been president, and we know the constitution is clear. The vice president has no power. Even finance minister is more powerful than vice president in the constitution. The role of the vice president is to do any duty that is assigned him by the president. You understand? And to act in the absence of the president. But John Dramani Mahama has been in power for 4 years.
Are you done with the comparisons now? We have to go, actually.
Where is this going?
Because I'm honestly not seeing the head and tail of what you're saying, at least the tail end. And the last bit about the finance minister is more powerful than the vice president. I would want to say that in that instance, when the president is not available, the finance minister should step in. I think you might want to read the Constitution again. But,
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your opinion with us this morning, Benjamin.
Thanks for watching the AM show. Trust me, I'm not up to mischief. I don't like doing this, but
no,
you go down a certain road,
it, Benjamin.
We'll have to go down that road with you. Well, my name is Sweetie Abochi, and your name is?
I'm Benjamin Akakpo. We're back tomorrow on your screens from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. But up next is News Desk with Aisha Ibrahim.